You know it's this. Take a perk and it's talking and see. Money swallowing like sis. Did it perfect in the kid. Got a belly to sing on my head. Look up better. Put on the road, I just went. I know we got $1 million. The devil, that shit ain't not cheaper than
Hello and welcome back, fellow anime lovers, to MangaMuse. I am delighted to have you join us once again in the world of fanfiction and fantasy. This is the second part of What If Gohan Joins the Marvel Universe. Smash the like, share and subscribe button for more. Thanks for the introduction. Now let's dive into the world. 5 days later, Zayn is meditating in the White Room, trying to bring emit the least amount of Kai can he produce. Iron Fist is surprised at how much control Zayn has over his Kai in only 5 days. At first, Zayn couldn't suppress his Kai under emotional pressure. Now, he can control it despite constant pressure. Danny can see that Zayn is definitely someone special with the progress he's been showing. Alright, I think that is enough for now. Come back tomorrow for your last test. It might be harsh, but with your natural talent, you can succeed, says Danny, impressed by how far Zayn has come. Yes sir, said Zayn as he bows to Danny and leaves. This kid learned to control and suppress his Kai even when I put so much stress upon him the last 5 days, thought Iron Fist as he watches Zayn leaves. Took me a long time just to harness the use of Kai. He has an incredible amount of Kai and quickly learned to control it. He like a prodigy with this stuff. Suddenly, a red smoke came out of nowhere and appearing from it is Doctor Strange. Once again, thank you for lending us this room, Stephen, Danny says to the Master of the Mystics. No need to thank me, Daniel. However, when you approached me about this child, I was skeptical and had to see for myself. Admits Doctor Strange, I would never lend you my home if this wasn't a bit curious. His power runs deep. He can become more powerful than he is now, even more than what he's showing now. A shocked Iron Fist questions. His potential is great. It is, to be honest, frightening, says the doctor as he thought about what to do with Zayn. He can't be of this world. I need to learn more about him, just in case. If there is more of him, but with less moral intentions, then. Meanwhile, Zayn walks to the bus stop after walking about 3 blocks from the Sanctum Sanctorum. He is in a good mood, after all the progress he made with his Kai. He feels he found it. The thing he felt he lost since he stopped picking fights as a kid. Like he's been enlightened. He wondered how he's so good with controlling his Kai. Iron Fist said he never saw anybody as talented as him before, nor with Kai as extraordinary as his. He realizes that he is different from everybody else. No, he's been different for all of his life. My mom adopted me when I was a baby, but she never talked about it. I think I once asked her where I came from, but she avoided the question. She'll probably do the same thing if I ask her now. I don't think I'm human. Zayn thought about what to do with his mother during the ride home. What would happen if he showed her his power? Will she abandon him? Would she tell him the truth? Will she still love him? It will be best if I didn't tell her. I can't risk it. Besides, I don't want to cause her trouble. After the headache, as a kid, I gave her. As Zayn leaves the bus, he thought about his origins. Maybe he is the son of some powerful martial artist legend or something. An alien race of Kai users, or just a normal talented person. Whatever it is, Zayn really doesn't mind. He realizes he is alone with not a single person in sight. Zayn had a thought. I know that I was taught to control, not use, but I want to see if I can do it without help. He then draws out his Kai. The surrounding aura expands as Zayn positions himself in a runner's position. He checks around for anybody in sight, and as soon as the coast was clear, he starts running. But after about 7 seconds of running, he realizes it was at the same speed he usually runs at. Well, I really can't use it just like that, thinks Zayn as he stops running and continues walking. I really want to know now. I'll ask Iron Fist tomorrow. Next morning, waking up from bed, Zayn slowly lifts his and checks his phone to find out that it is only 6:24 a.m. in the morning. He woke up too soon. After about 30 minutes awake in bed, he gets up, takes a shower, brushes his teeth, then got dressed. He walks to the kitchen and sees his mom is there, finishing breakfast. Morning, honey, greets Amy as she kisses Zayn on the cheek. Morning, mom. Zayn greets back as he gives her kiss on the cheek as well. How was work yesterday? Tiring. Being the new manager is not a joke, admits Amy as she grabs her own plate. But the pay is so good. Your college fund is set in a couple of years. That is good, mom, comments Zayn, who in his mind haven't thought that forward in life. So how is the decoration for homecoming going? Asks Amy as Zayn pauses and looks away to a window by his side. It's going good. You know, Alex nagging at me for something I messed up. Jessica making work me like a slave. Just a lot of work. Zayn lies as he grabs a pile of eggs on one plate. Don't talk like that, child. I remember, didn't you used to have a crush on Jessica? Ms. Dalton says, smiling, making fun of her son. First I was 10 and it wasn't a crush, says Zayn as he starts eating a mouthful of eggs. And IG was following her Kaji use she G kicked me in a G place. IG don't want to G be kicked G ever G again. Don't talk with your mouth full, orders Amy as Zayn quickly chews and swallows his food before grabbing a lot more food. You're eating more than usual. I mean, you were always a big eater, but now it more than usual. You okay? Asks Amy. Zayn swallows his food before answering, I'm growing. Noon. It is lunchtime and eating another huge meal is Zayn as Alex and Jack watch in awe as Zayn engorges himself in various cafeteria food. As Jack asks, where are you hiding all that? Gee, don't know, says Zayn, trying to eat at the same time. Swallow your food, for God's sakes, says Alex in disgust while seeing Zayn's food in his mouth. Zayn swallows his food before answering again, I said I don't know. You've been eating more than usual and that's saying something. Comments Jack. Are you nervous? Did something happen with that girl the other day? Alex asks. Zayn almost starts choking on his food. What girl? You're talking to a girl. Questions a shocked Jack. My boy is growing up. It's G, nothing like G that, responds Zayn, who took a huge bite out of a square pizza. Don't talk, and apparently he went to a blind date between him and a daughter of one of Amy's friend, explains Alex as Zayn turns his head away. Is she hot? Cute? Jack starts interrogating before asking, how long have I been out of the loop, man? We're bros. It was just one date. Lies Zayn, trying to end the conversation. Then what is it? Questions Alex as she crosses her arms. The bell rings and Zayn quickly gets up. Okay guys, see you later. Need to get to class early. Text you tonight. Alex and Jack stare blankly at Zayn, who is waving back at them while scurrying away. After school, walking out of English class, making sure he doesn't get caught by Alex or Jack, Zayn peeks his head out the door and tries blending in with the crowd. Grabbing his stuff out of his locking, he tries to leave through the back at the building. Before he could, a hand grabs his right shoulder, startling him. Why are you sneaking, snake? Asks Jessica, as Zayn calms down realizing it's her. I was just avoiding both Alex and Jack because they've been asking me a bunch of questions on my date, explains Zayn. You had a date? I can't believe it. A disbelief, Jessica says, who was previously worried because Zayn didn't have any interest in both guys and girls. How was it? It was good. I mean, at a date, right? It can be good or bad date, right? Zayn says, nervously trying not to make eye contact. That bad, right? Jessica says, flashing a pity smile. Well, you are just now discovering girls after so long, so I sort of expected that. What does that mean? Asks Zayn, feeling insulted. Nothing. Just thinking about a couple of stuff, responds Jessica. So now that you have time, can you help me out with homecoming? I would, but I have a thing to go to, says Zayn, hoping for more training with Danny. It a good thing for me. A great thing? Okay, that, good, agrees Jessica, flashing a weirded smile. Yeah, it's super good, says Zayn, giving her a thumbs up. You know, Jessica says, smiling and placing her right hand on Zayn's right shoulder. You can be an idiot sometimes. I know, agrees Zayn. 10 minutes later, after his conversation with Jessica, Zayn is walking to a local deli to grab a snack, which means he is planning on eating 3 different sandwiches. He realized he has time before the bus comes, so he decides to go eat. While making his way, walking on the sidewalk, a deli in sight, someone starts yelling something out of the deli. Stop. A man yells, followed by the sound of gunfire. Zayn looks up to see a man with a black mask and brown coat hurriedly coming out the door of the deli with a backpack. The robber starts running at Zayn's direction as Zayn responds by raising his kai. When the robber reaches him is right in front of him, Zayn punches him with his right hand, hitting the robber in his torso. The robber lets out a shout while he is throwing up saliva, but he turns his wrath-filled eyes at Zayn and pulls out his pistol. Well, that wasn't right, though Zayn as he faces the end of the pistol. Before the man could pull the trigger, a string of web lands of the top of the pistol and yanks it off the robber's hand. It came from above as Zayn looks up to see Spider-Man, leaning from the edge of the building next to them. Spider-Man webs the robber, yanks him to the top of the building, before slamming him to the side of the building, webbing him to the building afterward. Okay, someone might need to call the police before that web wears off, shouts Spider-Man, before turning to Zayn, and kid, that was brave, but leave these things to the pros. Before Spider-Man can take off, Zayn shouts out, wait. Spider-Man stops before he can swing away and looks at Zayn, who has his head down. I couldn't stop that guy. I would have died if I wasn't saved. I need to know how to use Kai. I need to know how to be strong. Are you hurt? Did something happen? asks Spider-Man. I need to go check on the guys inside. Why are you strong? Asks Zayn as Spider-Man raises his eyebrow inside his mask. I don't know anything about being strong. Just that I have the power to help people, explains Spider-Man, who checks inside the deli and sees that everybody inside is unharmed. Aren't they the same? Questions Zayn. Kind of. I mean, it's not about being strong or having power, starts saying Spider-Man as that grabs Zayn's attention. I mean, if you wanna know how to punch somebody, I'm not the right person to ask that. All I know is that what's important is not becoming stronger or hitting harder, but why? Why? Thought Zayn, who starts wondering why he wanted to learn how to use Kai. I was raised to believe that if I have gained power over others, then I gain the responsibility to use those powers to help those others, especially against people who gain the power to hurt others. This signals a message to Zayn, who realizes that all this time, he wanted to be strong, to have power for the sake of it. It's like when he was a kid again when he was fighting before Jack came along and stopped fighting for his, Jessica's, and his mom's sake. He wanted power, he wanted to fight, but not like this. The sounds of sirens are heard by the two as Spider-Man launches a web to the top of a building before saying, anyways, I have to be on my merry way. Stay in school. He web slings away, leaving Zayn with his own thoughts. He wanted the power to use Kai because it felt good. He doesn't know what he would do after he had that power, but he only wanted it because he wanted to fill a hole in his life. In the end, maybe he should keep away from using Kai. Thank you, shouts a little boy coming out the deli as his mom is talking to the police. I saw you tried to stop that bad guy. I didn't really. I saw it too, says a young college lady who was working in the deli. I mean, Spider-Man took him down. But you look like you really got him with that punch. It was dangerous and you should have called the cops. But it was cool. Why you're welcome. Astonishingly thanks Zayn, as the lady pats his back. Zayn looks at his right hand, turns it to a fist, and thought about it. He could have let that robber go and go to Danny and learn how to use Kai, but instead, he tried to stop him, because he couldn't have let that robber go. There is a lot of people who misuse their power to hurt others, like bullies, so shouldn't he gain the power to stop them? Zayn thought long and hard about it before coming to a decision and goes to the bus stop. Sanctum Sanctorum. Danny Rade looks at his student, Zayn, with a serious look on his face, who looks at him back with a determined expression on him. About 30 seconds ago, after Zayn came in to show his progress on controlling his Kai, he suddenly asked Danny to teach him how to harness and use Kai, not just keep his power under check. Danny should have seen this coming, but he hoped Zayn has no interest in learning how to empower himself. Zayn, I can't just teach you how to use Kai, sternly lectures Danny. It's not only reckless, but you'll be absorbed into a very dangerous life. And Danny pauses a bit, feeling his mouth drying as he about to say something harsh yet fair, and I can't risk teaching you something that could backfire. You seem like an okay kid, but I don't know you well enough to trust you with this power. I only taught you to control Kai for you to accidentally destroying something. I'm sorry. With a hurt expression appearing on his face, Zayn felt a slap on his face just happened. However, he knew Danny had a point. They just met over a week ago, and while Zayn trusted Danny, it'll take more time for the vice versa to happen. Zayn turns around, facing away from Danny, who's a bit confused by what he is doing. Changing his expression to a serious one, he turns back and looks directly into Danny's eyes, as if the fire was ignited into his pupils. I won't disappoint you. I'll use that power to save others, declares Zayn as his power starts rising. I'll be a hero that can save even the universe. Before Danny can even say anything, the voice of Doctor Strange spoke from the door. Daniel, I think you should at least teach him the basics of using his power, suggests Strange. At least start teaching him little by little until you find a reason to stop the progress. Listen, Stefan, I know that Zayn can do great things, but I can't just. I'll take responsibility as well, interrupts Doctor Strange. I've kept at least an eye on him to know that he can be a great protector of this planet. If the day I was proven wrong, I'll personally stop him. Danny looks at Zayn, whose eyes are still filled with will and determination, before sighing and says, okay. As I said, you're a good kid, so I can trust you to at least protect people when the time comes. You showed me that when you saved that little girl. So that means, excitingly says Zayn, as his eyes turn bright. Be prepared. Your training starting today will be nothing like it was before, explains Danny. Got it. Zayn smiles widely at Doctor Strange, before turning back to Iron Fist and excitingly says, got it. Late night, Zayn walks home from the bus stop. Although he felt like he should be crawling instead, his body is screaming. Most of the training they did so far is training his body to handle the use of Kai, which pushes his body to its limit, and beyond. In the end, Zayn only walking because of his willpower. Upon reaching his house and entering the front door, he found his mom waking up after sleeping in the couch. "I'm home," greets Zayn as he sees Amy's furious face. "Now, it is 11:10, where were you?" asks Amy as she walks over to Zayn. I was at school, then I went to Jack's house because he got an NN new game, and Zayn, I called the Daltons when you didn't answer your phone. Interrupts Amy with a disappointing look on her face. "Please tell me you weren't doing any trouble." "I'm not," says Zayn, as he sees that Amy isn't going to relax anytime soon. "I'm sorry, Mom. I just lost track of time, won't happen again. And I swear, nothing bad happening." "Okay, kiddo," says Amy, who is not convinced, but feels she should leave it for now in due time. She kisses Zayn on his cheek while saying, "Dinner ready. Don't go eating it all at on." Ms. Dalton is cut off as Zayn dashes to the kitchen and starts filling up his plate with a huge serving of pasta and meat. Minutes later, Zayn ate the whole pot, feeling that his strength had returned as Amy just sighs and smiles at a satisfied Zayn. A week later, Sanctum Sanctorum. Zayn's Kai training is coming along smoothly from what Danny is saying. He manages to get the basics of using Kai to enchant his strength down very quickly and gain more control over his Kai now. Along with that, his power is growing as well from his exercises and well as Iron Fist teaching him Kung Fu, which he is also picking up quickly. It's like all of this came instantly to Zayn as Danny called him a natural fighter. Although his training is going amazingly, his daily life is starting to become more bothersome. Along with the fact that he doesn't want his mom to find out for the sake of her stress, he's starting to spend less time with his friends, resulting in him mostly seeing them at school. Even during the weekend, he spends his time in the White Room, even if Iron Fist isn't there. Doctor Strange told him he can come over if he wants for that week, although Zayn feels an air of uncertainty at times. Midtown High School. Right now, it is Friday around noon and Zayn in school, eating several plates of food during lunch. Now usually there's nothing usual with that, as Zayn is known to eat several plates of food, but both Jack and Alex notice that there is more food than usual. This worries them as Alex wonders are this related to why they haven't seen Zayn outside of school. "Dude, slow down," says Jack as his stomach starting to turn from watching Zayn eating all that food. "Gee, sorry, apologies," Zayn say, but wasn't understood. "What?" Alex asks as she looks visibly disgusted. "Last time. Keep your mouth closed." Before Zayn can respond, a loud crash echoes from the other end of the cafeteria. The group turns around to see a messy black-haired senior with rough skin repeatedly punching a blonde-haired football player while a valley girl-looking brunette telling him to stop. The black-haired senior looks about 6'3", large build, with a flame tattoo on his right hand. "You slut. You fucking slut. How long have you been fucking this guy?" screams the large black-haired senior. "Hey, language," yells a teacher as tries to pull him off, with the combined might of 3 teachers. "Bobby, I know you've been seeing that girl from that club for 2 weeks now," yells the girl Cindy, in tears. "Who the hell are you to say shit about me? Fuck you. Fuck this crappy-ass school. Fuck all of you. I'll fucking kill you all," screams enraged the senior named Bobby as he powers himself free from the teacher's grip and runs out the cafeteria before security can catch him. The entire cafeteria just stares at the entrance Bobby escaped from, before slowly turning back to each other. Whispers and gossip start spreading around the tables while Zayn, with food still in his mouth, turns to Jack. "What was that about?" asks Zayn, who swallows his food before talking. "That was Bobby Kane. Remember, he's who been in juvie a bunch of times because of his anger problems," explains Jack. "Didn't you fight him in 3rd grade before? He got worse. Heard he killed a guy or something. Why did Cindy go out with him?" wonders Zayn, finishing his food. "Who knows? The guy is kind of good looking and girls like Cindy tend to think they can change him," suggests Alex, who's on her phone. "I guess she found out she can't." "Dude, I hope he doesn't do something during homecoming tomorrow." Hope's a worried Jack. "Homecoming?" wonders Zayn, who's about to go for another plate. "Homecoming dance. It is tomorrow. Don't tell me you forget," sighs Alex. "I forgot, but there is a chance I'm not going," says Zayn, who starts eating the plate of food. "Dude, it's our first high school dance." "I'm going, so is Alex," comments Jack as Zayn finishes half of the plate. "Yeah, we're going with a couple of friends from band." Alex tells Zayn, "Have you really not been paying attention the last 2 weeks?" "Well, I can't go even if I want to because I didn't buy a ticket," says Zayn after finishing the plate. "Well, what are you going to do Saturday?" asks Alex, as Zayn thought about training that day. After school, after his last class, Zayn is looking through his locker, packing up his stuff to take home. While he wants to train more, he realizes that he has been neglecting his friends and schoolwork. While his biology project with Alex brought his grade up significantly for a while, but it is now back to a C due to not doing much homework. His grades in other classes are also coming down too. As he closes his locker, he wonders if he should not train today and catch up on missing assignments. While thinking this, he sees Peter Parker and Jessica talking about something relating to homecoming. He gets a little closer to overhear them. That sounds like a lot. So you really can't chaperone the homecoming, Mr. Parker? Asks Jessica as Peter nods. Sorry, but what I have said is too important, so I can't make it. Answers Peter as Jessica looks disappointed. Well, it can't be helped. Having your car repossessed sounds bad. Comments Jessica. I didn't even know you had a car. Well, I prefer walking and taking the train, says Peter, shifting his eyes away. I guess I'll talk to Mr. Hudson then, said Jessica as Peter looks a little guilty. Peter looks behind him, sees Zayn and calls for him. I see you, Mr. Dalton. Are you at least gonna do that homework over the weekend? Your grade is going to the swears, and I'm talking about the ones that are clogging up around Hell's Kitchen. I will, Mr. Parker, says Zayn with his hands behind his head. I'm not going to homecoming, so I have time. You're not, says Jessica as snaps her head to Zayn. I didn't get a ticket, and since they are not selling anymore, as may as well not go, says Zayn without worry. I did the same thing my freshman homecoming. Actually, all my homecomings. Comments Peter. Well, just get it done, okay? Okay, confirms Zayn, giving his teacher a thumbs up. Before he can leave, Jessica grabs his right shoulder. Wait, what happened? You sure you don't want to go? Questions Jessica while Zayn nods. Even if I want to, I can't. But do you want to go? Zayn takes a couple of seconds before answering. Maybe. Good enough, Jessica says as she grabs a ticket to homecoming from her bag. What is going on? Wonders Zayn. Well, one of the helpers can't make due to family problems, so we are short one helper, explains Jessica. I kind of guessed there was a chance you didn't get a ticket, so if you want to, if you don't have anything to do, wanna help out? Sure, but let me see if I can, answers Zayn as Jessica put the ticket in his pocket. In that case, I'll see you later, says Jessica as she walks away, waving back at him. Zayn waves back, but wonders if he able to today. Later, Sanctum Sanctorum. I don't mind you going. In fact, thank you for at least letting me know, says Danny as he and Zayn are sparring with one another. You have your own life to look after. Really, says Zayn as he misses a punch, but dodges Danny's counter. Thank you. It actually couldn't come at a better time. I actually have stuff I need to do tomorrow and next week, so I won't be around to continue your training. Admits Danny to Zayn's shock. Really? Then there's nothing else to teach me? Asks Zayn as he jumps over Danny's kick. Just by living, you are learning, said Danny, who gets a hit on Zayn's shoulder. I'll be listening and watching what you do from now on. I feel like you are able to make your own way of living and fighting now. Zayn doesn't know what Danny meant by that, but that means he won't be receiving more training from Danny, and he is able to go to homecoming. So far, it seems that Zayn can go back to his normal life tomorrow. Meanwhile, Bobby Kane is trying to get away as far from Midtown High as possible. He has been kicked out of homecoming and has been suspended for 2 months along with a call to his probation officer. He is on his way to his hangout thinking of how he is going to deal with Cindy and the guys he beat up, Ryan. He notices that someone has been following him for a while. The guy is wearing colors of a local gang he's been fighting with recently. Bobby quickly led the guy to an empty alleyway with a tall old metal fence behind. It was just 2 of them as Johnny get ready for a fight. But suddenly, a bunch of guys appears from behind the fence. Hey Bobby, says one of them smirking as they all start climbing the fence. I'm already pissed off, so you don't fuck with me, threatens Bobby. He punches the guy following him, but everybody else jumps off the fence and start ganging up on him. He manages to get a few hits in, but quickly was overrun by the numerous gang members, who hold him down to the ground. One of them grabs a knife from his pocket and grabs Bobby's right ring finger. He presses the blade to the finger and slowly starts cutting it. Screams Bobby as he feels something burning from finger and his stomach. Wonders the gang member as he feels Bobby's skin burning him. Suddenly, a burst of fire exploded out of the alleyway. The side of the buildings is covered in soot as nothing of what was in the alley remains, except for the charred corpses of various gang members. Suddenly the flames gather and appearing out is Bobby Kane. He has a paralyzed look on his face before looking at the carnage around him. What the shit? Bobby says as he slowly realized what happened and freaks, what the shit? The sound of sirens can be heard from the distance as Bobby stood there looking like he's holding the gun. He started running away from the scene. He can feel it. The fire came from him. At first, he thought about how terrifying this is, having these unknown powers coming from nowhere. But the more he thought it, the more he thought about what he can do with what he just gained. Saturday night, Zayn's house. Inside his room, Zayn is changing into a long white dress shirt with a black tie, black pants, and black dress shoes. He notices that he has been growing a little muscle since he started training with Danny, so his dress shirt is tighter to him. He leaves his room as Amy turns and smiles at him. "Hey, you look wonderful," comments adorably Ms. Dalton. "Thanks, Mom," says Zayn as he goes to the door. "Don't wait up. And I won't get into trouble as we talked about." "Wait," yells Ms. Dalton as she grabs a camera from the dinner table. "Really, Mom?" sighs Zayn. "Yes," quickly says Amy as she starts taking pictures. "Next time bring a date. Someone cute like Alex." "Oh my god, Mom," frustratingly moans Zayn. "Now smile." Meanwhile, in an empty nearby park by Brooklyn, flares of fire flicker from a distance. They came from Bobby Kane, who is firing blasts of fire out of his hands, as a gleeful smile is on his face. Bobby wonders why he has powers, but he figured he must be a mutant or something. He hasn't gone home since yesterday morning. He's been walking around, testing his newfound powers, trying to control them. It is working so far, as he's learning more on what he can do, and it's not like he has anyone waiting for him at home. His mom is either out finding a boyfriend that will pay for her stuff or quitting a job after about 2 weeks. He doesn't have a father, not since he was 6. He remembered a man with a bald head, dark eyes, and cut scar on the right side of his neck. He still can't believe that that guy was his father. Bobby thought about how much he hated his life as dark thoughts appeared on his head. "I have power now, so why should I stay here?" He thought of Cindy and Ryan and how much they humiliated him. He hated them. He wanted to pay. He wanted to teach anybody that screwed with him what happens when they mess with him. He summons a huge ball of fire on his hand and throwing it at a tree. He makes more fireballs and throws them all over the park. "Let's go have some fun," thought Bobby, leaving with darkened eyes on his face as the fire starts spreading all over the park. Outside Midtown High School, after Amy drops him off around the corner, Zayn arrives at the entrance of the school as students after students enter the school in a crowd. He looks for Alex and Jack as he spots them along with several people from Alex's band class. "Hey," Zayn shouts as grabs their attention. "Hey Zayn, so you ready to work the punch bowl or something?" jokes Jack as Alex smacks his head. "I don't even know what my job is," says Zayn as he starts happily greeting everybody in the group. "Have you seen Jessica? She should be inside, I think," answers Alex. "Gonna be a while to get inside though." Inside Midtown High School, after about 10 minutes of trying to get through the crowd of students, Zayn searches for Jessica starting at the gym. The theme of Homecoming is under the mask, where a bunch of masks from slasher movies, iconic plays, and masks from various holidays and several cultures are placed on the walls and ceiling. At least the half of the school is already here with more to come, meaning Zayn must find Jessica as soon as possible. He spots her talking to a couple of chaperones on the other side of the gym next to the DJ table. Zayn waits for the chaperones to leave before he calls out for her. "Jessica," Zayn shouts, startling her. "Jesus, Zayn," says Jessica, alarmed. "Glad you are here now. I somehow managed to." "So, what do I do now?" asks Zayn. "There is that bake sale for the fundraiser and we need someone to manage it," points out Jessica, "so there you go." Okay, Zayn disappointingly says, "Was hoping for something exciting." "Zayn, the only thing exciting is happening to everybody else," says Jessica, patting his back. "Should have gotten your own ticket." She leads Zayn to the bake sale in the cafeteria and tells him to keep shop. She instructs him on what to do, and when they made a few sales together, she leaves him alone to do it himself. After about 15 minutes of waiting for a sale, Zayn just sits in his chair, looking at his phone, before spotting Jack, with a disappointing look on his face after talking to Brunette. "Hey, buddy," Zayn greets as Jack reminds on him a sad puppy. "You okay?" "Well, the girl I was talking to got back together with her boyfriend last minute, and now I have no date," answers Jack as he sits next to Zayn. "Well, this sucks. And I thought that being a hero means people think more of me and like me." "It's alright," Zayn optimistically says, trying to cheer Jack up. "You don't need everybody to like you," says you. "People know you. They like you. They think you're awesome." "You are awesome." "Frustrating," says Jack. "You don't understand cause. You're different." Zayn looks surprised at Jack and realizes he is right. He is different from Jack. Not because Zayn might not be human, but because most of the students here know Zayn and like talking to him. Jack usually gets ignored when they are in the hallway together as people of various ages, grades, social standing, and cliques all greet and high-five Zayn. "You have a point," admits Zayn. "I am different. But does it matter? You want to stop being friends cause I'm popular with everybody." "What?" questions Jack as he turns to Zayn. "No. You're my best friend. You've been there helping me and having my back. I've put up with your shit and you've put up with mine. Like right now." "Yeah," snickers Zayn as Jack starts laughing. "Okay, I'm not gonna let this get through me. determinedly says Jack as he gets up from the chair. I'm gonna find another cute girl to awkwardly talk to. There's someone out there for me. That's the spirit. Cheers on Zayn as they fist bump. Thanks again for putting up with my shit again. Finishes Jack. He leaves. 30 minutes later, after about a half an hour of waiting for a new customer to come, Zayn's boredom reaches its peak while his stomach starts to feel hunger. Looking at the baked goods with a predator-like eyes, what's stopping him eating all of them is his duty as a friend to Jessica. The look Zayn giving to the baked goods is not ignored by Jessica and Alex. Maybe it was a mistake to let Zayn handle the baked goods. Alex snickers, looking at Zayn's face. Maybe it was, agrees Jessica, sighing and regretting. Zayn immediately snapped back to reality and responds, yes, nothing bad is happening. Everything is alright. Right? Said Jessica unconvinced. Well, how about you take a break and get something to eat? Before Jessica can finish, Zayn immediately rushes out of the cafeteria entrance, running towards the local fast food restaurant nearby. As he hurries to buy some burgers, he passes by a guy with a black hoodie on. He looks back but shrugs before running towards the fast food place again. Meanwhile, the man stares at Midtown High, eyes burning with intensity as fire covers his pupils. Midtown High, I'm back with a surprise for you, grimly thought Bobby as he lets down his hood. 15 minutes later, Jack is sitting at his table watching everybody dancing, looking for somebody to talk. Alex stops by after dancing with her friends and starts chatting with him. Will one of your friends dance with me? Asks Jack, whose previous optimism given by Zayn earlier starts going down. I might ask if any of them would be interested in you, answers Alex lightly laughing. It better than nothing. Jack agrees. So, where is Zayn? I didn't see him at the bake sale. Your sister told him to go eat something cause he was about to eat about hundreds of dollars of baked foods. Snickers Alex. Well, that was a mistake thinking he can sell food that's in front of him. Laughs Jack. Other than that, have you noticed Zayn been acting weirder lately? And that he been hanging out with us less and less? Point out Alex as Jack nods in agreement. Yeah, I've tried to ask him what happens. Maybe he was hanging with that girl he mentioned. Mentions Jack, before backtracking, then again, why now? Like it happened out of nowhere. He's lying. He always sucks at lying. Besides, the thought of him having a girlfriend is, well, starts saying Alex, trying to say some words, weird. I don't mind weird, but, Alex, maybe it's time to tell Zayn you like him, announces Jack, which catches Alex off guard. It's pretty obvious to everybody except Zayn that you have a thing for him. What? Shudders Alex. Yep, don't deny it girl. Snickers Jack. Don't laugh, demands Alex. How long? Long time, answers Jack as Alex looks away to blush, just wondering why you don't say anything to him. Well, I've been leading him on for a while, admits Alex, before sighing in frustration. But he keeps being oblivious to every sign I give him during the summer. Oblivious and Zayn. Name a more iconic duo. Jokes Jack. Why do you have a crush on him? I mean, I know he's awesome and a good friend, but what else got you into him? Alex thought about it for a minute, thought of the times and memories of Zayn that stood out, then answers, well, he may be oblivious, but he always positive, kind, and sweet. He always tries his hardest when he's helping us or doing something that he is interested in. Sure, he a slob when eating and he gets distracted too many times, but that what makes Zayn, well Zayn. She smiles and blushes before adding, and it helps he is pretty cute and tall. That's a bonus. Jack thought about what made Zayn stood out. He remembers how Zayn notices the little girls scream back during the scorpion incident, and how he risked his life saving both the girl and him. He gave Jack the strength to go into that hell and looked like a hero doing all that. It is times like those that can make anybody see how amazing Zayn really is. Yeah, that's Zayn alright, agrees Jack, who a little jealous that someone like Alex got her attention unintentionally grabbed by Zayn. Well, how about when Zayn gets back, I'll tell my C. H. Hey, what hell you doing? Shouts the DJ over the microphone as the music stops. Jack and Alex turn to see somebody shoveling the DJ out of the stage, who crashes into a table. Everybody stops dancing and turns to see somebody in a black hoodie tossing the turntable out of the stage. Jack and Alex are shocked to see that guy in the black hoodie is Bobby Kane, who is smirking down at all of them. Bobby Kane, screams the principal as he marches towards Bobby. Just what do you think you're doing? Bobby doesn't even respond to the question and just stares at the crowd, but mostly at Cindy and Ryan. The principal rushes up the stage and grabs Bobby by the arm. Bobby pulls out a gun on his right hand and fires at the principal. The people who see the gun start screaming and hiding, while the ones who don't just duck to the ground from the sound of the pop. The principal feels pain around his stomach, and he checks his lower body to see he was bleeding. He collapses on the stairs as the entire student body screams in fear. Oh my god, He has a gun. I'm getting out of here. Bobby spots a fleeing student trying to leave and blasts fire from his opposite hand at the direction of the exit. The escaping student trips, almost getting set on fire as the flames block the emergency exit of the gym. Bobby proceeds to set other escapes on fire as everybody is powerless to do anything. Oh shit. He just fired fire from his hands. Is he a mutant or something? Jack and Alex hide under the table as more students began panicking and calling the police. Jessica tries to calm some students down and think of a plan while a couple of chaperones themselves try to tackle Bobby. But they stop when Bobby notices them and points his hand on them. Alright, everybody, huddle into the middle of the gym, orders Bobby, right in front of me. With no choice but to comply, everybody does what he said as Bobby notices the principal grunting from the pain of the bullet while bleeding on the floor. If anybody going to get him, do it now. People were hesitant to do this, but Jessica eventually stood up and walks to the stage to help the principal. Jack nervously watches the whole thing as chaperones and other students rush to help her as they gently try to lift up the principal. Thankfully, the school nurse is here along with a nurse who is a chaperone with experience in treating bullet wounds. Jessica angrily looks at Bobby, who notices. What? You got something to say? Dares Bobby as Jessica stops for a bit. No, not really, Jessica answers faintly. Before she can go back and help the others carry the principal, Bobby shoots his gun at Jessica's feet. The shot misses, but it scares the students, who scream. The group carrying the principal, who almost dropped him, and Jessica, fell to the ground of the gym and lands hard on her face. Jessica, yells Jack as he rushes from the crowd to her sister. He checks on his sister to see that she has a bloody nose. Jack tries to help her up, but she got up on her own midway. Jessica worries Jack as Jessica shakes her head. Jack, go back to where you were. Don't look, orders Jessica, trying to assure her brother and de-escalate the situation. I'll be fine. Jack reluctantly did as his sister ordered, angry at Bobby for what he did, but can't do anything about it. He wanted to get him but knew it would only end badly. Jessica went back to her spot as the nurses attempt to stop the principal from bleeding out with what little items they have now. Bobby scans the crowd and sees someone trying to use their cell phone. Bobby fires his gun in their direction, which almost hit them. Several students started screaming as starts Bobby ordering them. All right, nobody does anything. Everybody, raise their hands now. Everybody did what he ordered as Bobby sadistically snickers as he spots someone he recognizes. Cindy. You bitch, stand up. Cindy hesitates until Bobby fires some flames above the crowd, who drops to the ground and hug the floors as possible. When he was done, she slowly gets up in front of him, scared out of her wits' end. Bobby walks up to her as Cindy feels her throat drying more and more as he gets closer. Bobby, upon reaching Cindy, punches her in the face so hard, she fell to the floor, with a tooth flying out. Tears start leaving her eyes from the pain as everybody watches this, paralyzed by fear, as Bobby grabs her up and punches her in the stomach. After a minute of this, he had an idea. Okay, everybody, says Bobby as he picks up a bloodied Cindy. If you want to leave everybody from front to back, please come up and punch the shit out of slut-ho Cindy here. Everybody listens in shock, with very few even wanting to do that as Cindy spats in defiance. You are a fucking psychopath. What is wrong with you? You're not getting out this in fucking peace, dumbass. Bobby responds by hitting Cindy some more, punching her to the ground and picking her back up again as the student body and chaperones watch in horror. He tore off some of her clothes. Her breasts are exposed. He scans the crowd while Cindy appears to have lost consciousness. Jessica, you first, orders Bobby to Jessica looks at Cindy's bloodied, unrecognizable face. Jessica walks slowly to the stage, hoping something will happen to stop this. Bobby gave Jessica a gesture to hit Cindy in the face as Jessica looks at Cindy, who probably don't even recognize where she is at. Jessica makes a fist as she prepares to hit Cindy, but stops. No, says Jessica as Bobby looks at her silently. Hell no. She not even awake, she looks half dead. The hell, Bobby, what are you even getting from this? Bobby lets go of Cindy and grabs Jessica up to him. He headbutts Jessica in the face, whose bloody nose got worse with blood coming out her mouth as well. Jessica, screams Jack as he tries to go help his sister. Bobby fires a huge flame to the crowd. A wall of fire separates them from Bobby, Cindy, and Jessica. Bobby then shovels Jessica to the ground as he gathers a huge amount of fire to his left hand. Everybody watches, with nothing to do to stop him. Jessica looks like death, watching Bobby with the intent to kill as Jack starts screaming for Jessica, tears in his face. All right, everybody, watch what happens when you play the hero, Bobby says, ready to demonstrate. Suddenly, the doors to the cafeteria flew from the handles as everybody turns to see nothing there but a view of the cafeteria. Bobby squints his eyes, expecting the police to come out, until he felt a fist hitting his stomach, sending him flying across the gym to the bleachers. Jessica looks in awe as she saw all of that and turns to see a figure is wearing a white mask covering their face. White hoodie with black pants. The white mask looks at Jessica, and from their eye holes, the look of remorse and guilty wears their face. They grab Jessica on one arm and Cindy in the other before jumping off the stage and giving them over to two teachers. "Get out now," orders the white mask as the teachers nod. Everybody listens to the white mask as the teachers and chaperones try to get everybody out of the one exit as orderly and safely as possible. Kane starts to get up, but the white mask quickly appears in front of him, ready to defend everybody behind him. The white mask goes for high knee Bobby in the face, sending Bobby flying to the wall. However, Bobby quickly summons fire from his hands and fires them backward, preventing him from hitting the wall. "Damn, wasn't good enough," whispers the white savior. "All right, Zayn, let's see what you can do." Several minutes earlier, walking back after eating several $1 burgers, Zayn feels like his stomach had just been satisfied. Several of the employees and consumers were staring at the amount of food he was eating, but Zayn didn't notice. He happily thought about what to do after homecoming, when he notices something coming from the school. It was smoke. Zayn immediately rushes to school, hears the fire alarm, and tries to find out what is happening right now. He sees people coming out of the school panicking and calling firefighter, police, and even the National Guard. He starts to listen in on what several students and teachers are saying to first responders. Mutant, fire, hostages, and gun were the common words Zayn heard. His eyes widen as he looks at the doors to the cafeteria, which still have people coming out, coughing from the smoke. He needed to know what happened inside. He closes his eyes, wondering if there is a way to sense what's happening. That when he felt someone with killer intentions. It felt dark, full of fury, and it felt gross to Zayn. He needed to know if his friends were alright, but it's too crowded to get through the cafeteria entrance. Zayn starts running around the school, where he saw a half-opened window to a second-floor classroom. He quickly climbs up while being careful to make sure no one sees him. He opens the window and goes inside to a dark, empty classroom. Opening the classroom door, he realizes that if he does this, if he goes a play hero and uses his powers, he'll need to hide his identity. He quickly goes to his locker and grabs his white hoodie, which he barely uses and only keeps it in his locker just in case. He needs to his face, so he grabs a white opera mask, which will hide the upper part of his face. Running downstairs to the cafeteria, where everybody who was there has now evacuated. He stands in front of the doors, breathing in and out, and focuses his Kai into his right fist. He unleashes his power and punches both doors as the handles flew off the wall. Everybody looks at his direction as Zayn scans the room and sees in the distance the hostile, who has the gun in one hand and a huge ball of fire in the other, and sees two people on the ground, one of whom is Jessica, with a broken, bloody nose. Shock reaches Zayn upon seeing Jessica, before rage inflicts him as he disappears out of everybody's sight. Now, Bobby lands to the floor, facing the disguised Zayn as Zayn made sure everybody gets out. Bobby tries to create a fireball to fire at the crowd, but Zayn quickly blocks him by pushing his hand on the side, launching the fireball to the side wall. Bobby uses the fire in hands to propel himself away from Zayn. Zayn sees that almost everybody has left and taken on a martial arts stance as he and Bobby face each other. Bobby fires his gun at Zayn, but Zayn sidesteps, barely dodging the bullet. Bobby lets go of his gun and fires his flames at Zayn. Zayn backflips and starts running away from the fire blast, while Bobby creating a huge ball of fire. Zayn grabs a table and throws it at Bobby, but Bobby throws his giant fireball at the table, destroying it as smaller bits of the fireball came out at Zayn's direction. Zayn dodges them. As he is doing this, Bobby releases another fire blast from both his arms at Zayn, who disappears from his sight by jumping high into the air above them. Falling in the air, Zayn kicks Bobby in the right shoulder, sending Bobby bleachers. Zayn thought that this is over until he saw Bobby getting up, holding his right shoulder, but still wanting to fight. Damn, he is really tough, thought Zayn, completely surprised by Bobby's durability. I have to finish this quick. Bobby surrounds his fire around his right arm and hand while gathering fire to his left hand and points it behind his back. This son of a bitch, he fucking injured me. Who the hell is he? Furiously thought Bobby as he intends to kill Zayn. I'll get him here. Zayn and Bobby stare down each other, ready to give the other the final blow to end this. Zayn runs towards Bobby while Bobby does the same. Bobby releases the flames from his left hand, increasing his speed to the point where surpasses Zayn's speed. However, Zayn senses where Bobby was aiming as he dodges Bobby's fire punch. Zayn then punches Bobby in his torso with enough force to slam Bobby to the ground as Bobby coughs up blood while being driven to the ground. Bobby can only close his eyes as he loses consciousness from the pain. Zayn gathers his breath as all the fire that Bobby created starts to disperse. It seems to Zayn that knocking out Bobby also stopped his fire from burning down the school. Cool air starts to hit Zayn's sweaty skin as he quickly exits the gym through the emergency exit. Upon getting out of the gym, Zayn finds himself in the courtyard of the school, surrounded by firefighters and police. Looking like he was caught in a robbery, the police quickly aims their guns at him. Freeze. Put your hands up. Oh hell no, thought Zayn as he runs towards the fence. The police fire at him as he jumps over the fence and tries to run as far away as possible. He has no clue on what to do other than hiding and look for a way home. But before he could think of a plan, he found himself surrounded by a crowd of students and faculty that he just saved. He ran to the front of the school. That him? What with the outfit? Who are you? Zayn panics as the crowd starts to gather around him. He looks around to see that there is a small space in front of the windows to put his foot in. He squats down, gathers his kai to his legs, and jumps towards a window, landing on the small footing in front. He buries his fingers to the wall above him and throws himself to the 3rd floor, then do the same towards the roof. His stamina is low, and his legs were feeling sore, but Zayn jumps from building roof to building roof where thankfully, he sees there is a fire escape on one side of a building and barely any people around there. He climbs down the fire escape where he hears sirens starting to come towards him. He runs down the street to an alleyway and quickly takes off his hoodie and mask and throws them inside a trash can. He hides behind the trash can, hiding from the streets and wait until the sirens passed him. When it felt safe, Zayn quickly leaves the alley and heads to the street he took to go get food, then follows the path to the school. When he got back to the school, he saw the principal and Cindy getting inside the ambulances. He searches for his friends and sees Alex and Jack by an ambulance, where Jessica talking to a doctor with bandages on her nose and an ice pack to her head. What the hell happened when I was eating? Asks Zayn out of breath. I saw sirens coming here and ran like hell. That psycho Bobby Kane happened. He came in with a gun and these fire powers and just took everybody hostage. Responds Jack, who's still in a bit panic. He shot Mr. Harrington and beat Cindy unconscious. He also attacked Jessica, explains Alex, who's also a little panicked. It's just a little headache, okay, and a nosebleed, says Jessica, trying not to make others worry. You have a broken nose, adds Jack. Thank God that guy got us out. Moon Knight maybe, guesses Alex. I heard he's crazy but he looks nothing like Moon Knight. No moon symbol, says Jack. Let's just be grateful that this is over, says Alex, who tries to remain calm. They hear a commotion at the entrance of the school and see from a distance Bobby, with power nullifying handcuffs on him, tied to a stretcher, being led by with the SHIELD symbol on them. They are a young man with brown hair, someone light blue eyes, who looks like their age. Zayn just solemnly looks at Bobby, which Jessica notices. You alright, Zayn? Asks Jessica as Zayn turns to his friends and smiles with relief. Just glad that you guys are alright. Saturday noon, Zayn's house. It's been about 16 hours since Zayn saved the school from Bobby Kane. Right now, Zayn is sitting on a chair, eating a huge breakfast Amy cooked up for him. She almost had a heart attack when she received a call from friends after the incident with Kane and tried to take the day off and stay at home with Zayn. He convinced her to go to work and that he will be okay. From the corner of his eye, he sees the newspaper from the Daily Bugle his mother is subscribed to. Midtown High attacked. Superpowered juvenile takes school hostage. Fights white masked vigilante who evades police. Zayn got a text from Alex just an hour ago. Mr. Harrington and Cindy are in the hospital now, with Mr. Harrington survived the bullet wound and might get out of the hospital at around 2 weeks. Cindy, however, while healing progressively from her injuries, but is suffering heavily emotionally. Jessica had just gotten out before Zayn woke up, with small minor cuts on his lips and a broken nose. He shouldn't have left, Zayn thought. He should have stayed, saved Mr. Harrington, Cindy, and especially Jessica. If Danny hasn't taught him how to fight, he would have lost. He needed to be faster, stronger, tougher. He needs to be the strongest so that nobody will get hurt. Since Alex's mom is paranoid and won't allow Alex to go out and Jack's busy Jessica due to how worried he and his family are, Zayn has the whole day to train in the Sanctum Sanctorum. Meanwhile, Peter Paker is sitting in his kitchen reading the paper with his wife by his side. He works for the Daily Bugle as photographer and is a science teacher for Midtown High School. So when he received messages on what happened, immense guilt consumes him because he wasn't there to stop Bobby Kane when he could have. "It isn't your fault, Tiger," says his wife, Mary Jane, trying to assure Peter, "You didn't know that this Bobby will attack the school." MJ, "I was invited to be one of the chaperones and I should have known that Bobby would do something after he assaulted Ryan," responds Peter as he grips the newspaper tightly. "If that other guy wasn't there, God knows what Bobby would have done to all of them." "Peter, you didn't know the kid had powers. Don't feel guilty for things you couldn't have seen," said Mary Jane, hugging Peter tightly. "I know, right," says Peter, who then kisses his wife, "but still, who is this guy?" Then Urich says the guy had white clothing on. But the guy didn't look like Moon Knight or anybody else in white costumes. Eyewitness said the guy looked like he could fight but was really sloppy in his escape. "Maybe he's new," suggests Mary Jane. "He probably just got their powers and just started superheroing." "Not the first guy." "Maybe," said Peter, "but still, that guy came there quickly. I might need to check him out." An hour later, New York. In front of the First National Bank of America, the supervillain the Shocker is on the ground, knocked out with the last image in his head is a disc he dodged at first until it knocked back from the wall behind him and hits him in the back of the head. Standing above the Shocker catching his shield, stands the man who most represents the best. His name is Stephen Rogers, the man known as the Star-Spangled Avenger, Captain America. SHIELD agents came and surrounded the Shocker, taking away his gauntlets, putting him in handcuffs, and placing him in custody. Many bystanders began clapping for Steve Rogers, who many in the crowd respects tremendously. As Steve Rogers starts talking to the SHIELD agents about what to report, it wasn't long before the press came asking the Captain questions. From world events to pop culture. "Captain, how do you feel for the sudden development about the war? Your comment on the star of middle child naming you as their top crush. Can you comment about the Avengers situation with the UN?" "No press, children," says one SHIELD agent as other agents try and keep the press away, while the Shocker is escorted to a prison van. "Captain, how do you feel on the rumors that the Vigilante saving those kids in Midtown High being an underage minor?" asks one reporter. "Excuse me," asks Captain America, with concern. "There are rumors saying that guy is underage because from what the reporting officers at the time are saying that he looks shorter than most adults and that he sounds like he trying to have a deep voice," responds the reporter, "and he seems to know his way around the school so." Captain America closes his eyes, looks down, thinking about his old sidekick, Bucky, before opening his eyes and answers, "No comment. You all have a good day." Captain America got on his motorcycle as the press began asking more questions and try following him. He helps escorts the prison van, but his mind is on something else. "If this kid really is underage, then what should I do?" thought Steve, as his thoughts keep turning to Bucky. During World War II, Captain America allowed a kid to follow him into a battlefield. Although at first, everything seemed alright as he and Bucky fought the war against the Nazis and Hydra, surviving and winning every fight alongside fellow heroes like the original Human Torch, Namor, Toro, and many others as the invaders. But one day, after trying to retrieve an experimental drone plane created by the Allies but then stolen from the first Baron Zemo, Captain America and Bucky seemingly lost their lives. Decades came and passed as the world believed that pair had died back in World War II until the Avengers found a frozen Captain America. But for Bucky, it is a lost cause. The Captain's mind came to another who started at a minor age. A boy turned man, Spider-Man. Although he is happy that Peter turned into a well-adjusted young man, Peter's life could have been better if he was truly prepared. Captain felt that Peter got lucky and survived long enough to gain experience. But what those who weren't? Not just Bucky, but other miners who followed their footsteps and fell to the ground before they were prepared. "I need to see this guy," Captain America thought. "If the kid is a mutant, I'll get him into Xavier's school. But if the guy isn't then." Hours later, Sanctum Sanctorum. Zayn emerges from the White Room, tired, barely walking, and drinking out of a gallon of water, which he just emptied. He has been training hard, practicing all the techniques and exercises Danny taught him at least 100 times over. This is the 4th gallon of water he has drunk. Doctor Strange suddenly teleports in front of Zayn, asking him, "Young Dalton, may I have a word in my studies?" "Sure," responds Zayn, as his gallon of water is magical refilled. The two head to Doctor Strange's studies, a room full of wonders like mysterious objects, books, and scrolls. Doctor Strange grabs a chest on his desk and opens it. He pulls out a short white cloak with gold timings around. "I've heard about your rescue at your school." "Good job," says an impressed Stefan, "more so that your rescue resulted in 0 casualties." "How do you know?" asks Zayn. "I'm the master of the mystic arts," casually said Stefan. "Also it's your school and you fit the right descriptions from the newspaper report. If you want to keep your secret as secret, you'll have to be more deceptive from now on." I'll manage, says Zayn, confident on his ability as Stefan gives him the cloak. Zayn grabs the cloak and felt his arms pulled to the ground. The hell? It is an old weighted clothing I found once. I modify it so it can turn into cloak and also a little extra to help with your training, says Doctor Strange while Zayn feels the cloak out. Now wear it and think of it as a jacket. Zayn puts on the cloak which responds by wrapping around Zayn, turning into a jacket. Holy crap, magic is awesome, shouts Zayn as he jumps around with the jacket, still heavy too. Seeing as you already started with saving others, I may as well give you this to help with keeping your identity safe off cell. Also, the extra weight may help with your training outside, explains Doctor Strange. Really? Cheerfully says Zayn, who pauses and asks, but why are you helping me a lot? I mean, you let me and Iron Fist use this place for my training. Then you gave me this. Why? Well, first, the cloak isn't much. It's something I found stuck in the corner of a trunk, casually says Stefan, and secondly, it because you interest me. Zayn takes a step back, cautiously as Stefan sighs and shakes his head. Not that way. I mean you are worth watching over. Understood Zayn as he walks over to a mirror. He checks himself out as the cloak changes from jacket to cloak and back again to Zayn's amazement. It's heavy as Zayn feels his shoulders stiffing and he has trouble moving his arms and body, but it's perfect to practice movement outside of the Sanctum Sanctorum. He tries doing a backflip but mistimes it and lands on his head as Doctor Strange looks down at him and says, I recommend you practice moving around for a hole in it before doing tricks. Zayn nods as he holds his head in pain. Outside, Sanctum Sanctorum. Zayn closes the door of the Sanctum Sanctorum, wearing his new cloak in its jacket form. He hoped that Doctor Strange had weighted boot that turns into shoes, but he'll keep what he gets. As walks down the street in a cool cloudy night and he turns the corner of the block, he sees a familiar face ahead that sees him back. Oh, hey Mr. Parker, greets Zayn to a surprised Peter Parker. Hey Zayn. Peter greets back skeptically. What are you doing here? At night. Oh, Zayn stutters, as he tries to come with an excuse. I was just visiting a friend and lost track of time. My mother is gonna kill me when I get home. I'll call you then, says Peter, still skeptical. Just be careful out there, seeing as school cancelled on Monday for the investigation. I'll see you Tuesday. Yes sir, waves Zayn, as he fast walks away from Peter. Peter looks at him leaving before walking towards the Sanctum Sanctorum. He peeks around his sides to make sure nobody is watching him. As Peter knocks on the door, he finds himself teleported to the inside of the Sanctum Sanctorum. Can never get used to that, comments Peter as Doctor Strange floats in front of him. Greetings Peter. Just what do you need to see me for? Greets Stefan, who extends his hand to Peter. What's up Doc? Greets back Peter as he shakes Stephen Strange's hand. I'm looking for someone and was hoping you'd have a way to find them with a little hocus pocus. Never called that again, says Doctor Strange with dead seriousness. And do you who specifically? Not really, admits Peter. If I did, I wouldn't came to you. All I know if that he goes to my school or near it and he wears a white mask. Stefan pauses for a second before regaining his composure. I might sort of know who you're referring to. He was in papers if I recall. He is, says Peter, but I need to know who he. And why is that? Asks Stefan, arms crossed. Because, well, stutters Peter, hesitating. He might be a student and I don't want a kid that under my nose to get hurt. Peter, I'm glad you care about your students. Lord knows we need more of that. But don't you feel like you could be overstepping your boundaries here? Asks Stefan, while Peter's eyes look away. Maybe, but I have to do something. Cause this kid might need help with his powers, Peter says with conviction, and well, I feel like it's my responsibility to teach this person what it means to have the power to help others, so that they won't make the same mistakes I made. Doctor Strange looks at Peter shiftily, before eyes and face warms up. Peter, I know who you are talking about. In fact, I know who it is. Really? Exclaims a surprised Peter. Then who? I'm afraid that I cannot tell you who it is, says Strange, as Peter gives a confused look to him. Why? It is not my place to tell you unless something serious occur, responds Stefan. It is serious, shouts Peter. Peter, I will tell you this, says Strange as he rests his hand on Peter's shoulder. You have nothing to worry about. I have a feeling you'll know who this person is when the time comes. But right now not the time. Peter looks like he wanted to say something, but he felt like Doctor Strange was right, and that he could be overstepping his boundaries. Defeated, he turns to the door, grabs the doorknob, before turning one last time to Doctor Strange. Okay Doc, you win, admits Peter, but just tell me, are they someone I have to worry about? I have a feeling he'll bring some trouble with him, acknowledges Stefan, as Peter sighs, before Stefan gives Peter a comforting look, but I also have a feeling he'll be great as well. 2 weeks later. The last 2 weeks, Zayn has been in a constant cycle of school, training, and fighting criminals. About 2 days after his battle with Kane, Zayn felt he is ready to fight criminals. It started with fighting a break-in, which ended in victory for him. He started building up his experience by fighting car robbers, hustlers, gangsters, and attempted murderers. He builds name for himself, stemming from the Kane incident, White Mask. It became clear to Danny Rand and Stephen Strange after hearing of Zayn's exploits and from conversations with him that he has immense talent for this stuff. He is getting more experience as fighter, and while his first attempts with rescuing had some errors, he's slowly getting better and better at being a hero. They found a bright diamond in the rough from out of nowhere. Right now, Zayn is standing on top of a roof somewhere in Midtown, looking for something that looks worthy of looking into. He usually spends his time walking around Midtown and close to Chinatown, looking for any action happening. He is practicing his punches, thinking that nothing was going to happen around here, and thought about leaving to a different area, when the pop of gunfire floods his ears. The sound came from over the building in front of him. It is a bit taller than the one Zayn standing on. He wonders if he can make with a single leap over the taller one. Zayn pauses, concentrates his Kai on his legs, and starts running towards the ledge of the building. He feels the power of his legs surging as he reaches the ledge and jumps. Zayn now in the air, towering over the taller building in front of him. It felt like he was flying. It felt like flying is possible, but he wonders how. He starts dropping, but towards the building instead of over it. Zayn closes his eyes and focuses his Kai over his body. He felt something, the wind and the air around his body. He opens his eyes and sees that he stopped falling and was moving slowly over the building. He loses his concentration and falls to the roof, landing on his feet, but a big smile appears on his face, filled with excitement. He flew for a second. Zayn stands over the ledge, looks down, and closes his eyes to try to feel the presences of other people. He senses a couple of guys gathering over something down the alley in front of him, with another presence on their side around them. He focuses his eyes to right in front of him and see 5 people gathering around a car, where Zayn senses somebody inside the car trunk. Kidnappers, thought Zayn as he jumps off the building, leaping to the car. Zayn sees that only one guy went inside, the driver, while the others were about to get in. He meant to land on top of the car but overshot it a bit and lands on the hood instead. This startles the driver. "What the?" yells the kidnapper as the others are alerted. Zayn panics, but let his instincts take over when the driver pulls a gun at him over the window, in which Zayn responds by getting out of the line of fire and kicking the gun out of his hand. He senses hostilely as he sees the others pulling their 1 pistols out, 2 next to him and 2 over the other side of the car. Impulse takes over as Zayn punches the first kidnapper near him, breaking a rib or 2, before the kidnapper can line up a shot. He sees the second kidnapper, aiming right at Zayn, but Zayn responds by pushing the first kidnapper at the second. He turns to see the third and fourth kidnappers, who already lined up their shots, and drops to the ground as hail of gunfire starts hitting the ground next to him. Zayn tries to think of a plan to get out of this situation, as he hears the car starting up as the driver is trying to escape with the hostage. Zayn realizes he has no time for planning, as he scurries to the driver door, his back pressed to the side of car as he tries avoiding the hail of bullets. He grabs the driver door handle and ribs it off the car and uses it to block the gunfire. He quickly kicks the driver, knocking him out, before leaping over the car while using the car door to block the gunfire, and lands on the other side of the car, behind the 2 kidnappers. He had an idea. He lets go of the car door and kicks it at the third kidnapper, who was next to the passenger's door. The door slams at the body of the third kidnapper, injuring him as Zayn wonders if he can dodge bullets. The fourth kidnapper fires at Zayn, who ducks and dodges the bullet and elbows the last kidnapper in the face. That should be all of them, confidently thought Zayn, before he hears something clicking behind him. He turns behind to see the second kidnapper up with a gun on his hand, aiming at Zayn. "Eat lead, kid." Before the kidnapper can fire his gun, an unknown object came out of nowhere and knocks the gun out the kidnapper's hand. The object ricochets off the wall and hits the side of the kidnapper's head. Zayn sees that the object was a red, white, and blue round shield. Just as Zayn recognizes it, the owner, Captain America, kicks his shield back to his hands. Captain America, whispers Zayn, feeling a bit timid over meeting a living legend, looking at Steve Rogers with awe. He could have done better, thought Cap, as he sees a couple of bullets finding their way to the street. He could have hurt someone. Nervously mumbles Zayn, as he walks anxiously to Steve, extending his hand. "Thank you, Cap, sir." The captain stares at Zayn's hand and shakes it. "You did a good job, White Mask, is it?" That's what they're calling me. I mean, I don't really like it that much, admits Zayn, who's still shaking Steve's hand. I mean, I never gave myself a name, so. Zayn realizes he's still shaking Captain America's hand as he quickly stops. Sorry. Just been a fan of yours since I was a kid. It's not a problem, says Steve. Examines Zayn. Just what are your powers? Powers? Wonders Zayn. Before answering, well, I use Kai. I'm a Kai user. Kai user, repeats Steve before he thought of Iron Fist. So you are trained. Actually, I'm still training, admits Zayn with a nervous smile. Still? For how long? Questions Steve. I think for about a month, says an unsure Zayn. A lot happened and time just went by so fast. Suo. A month? Questions Steve. Well, at first, the people training me wanted me control my powers, but then certain things happened and the Midtown thing happened, so I'm pretty much a superhero now, says Zayn proudly. The way he fights reminds me of Iron Fist, thought Steve as he feels like he should pay Danny a visit. Well, it's awesome meeting you, but I should get going, announces Zayn as he tries to leave. Wait, shouts Steve as Zayn stops. Just how old are you? 18, lies Zayn with a nervous smile. Tell me for real, sternly commands Steve as he knew Zayn is lying. Siren starts coming towards, which made Cap turn around for a second, just enough for Zayn to start running from him. Cap tries go after him, but Zayn jumps to the top of building of the side and goes for his clothing he hid in an alley near here. Zayn hid in the alley for a while and changes to his normal clothes. He figures that he should stop for today, but also wanted to train more, so he took a bus to the Sanctum Sanctorum. Sanctum Sanctorum. Upon entering the door of the Sanctum Sanctorum, Zayn waits for the door to open. After about a minute of waiting, he wonders if Doctor Strange is home before turning around to leave. The doorknob moves. Zayn turns his head to see the door opening, revealing Captain America himself, standing behind the door, with Doctor Strange behind him. Huh? Sounds Zayn dumbfounded. But you were just when how? S.H.I.E.L.D. has been monitoring your movements and you've been most active around this area? And Queens, responds Steve Rogers. I was hoping Doctor Strange here would help me, then you showed up. Zayn had nothing to say, as he couldn't look at Rogers in the eyes, who continues, so now then, tell me who are you? Zayn could lie or run, but Captain America knows he goes to the Sanctum Sanctorum, meaning he can just question Doctor Strange, and Zayn doesn't want to trouble him with this. Also, Zayn doesn't want to go against Captain America. When he came back after being gone since the end of World War II, a surge of Captain America fever hit the schools, which Jack got Zayn to be a part of. Something about a man who never gives up, never giving into anything to what they think is wrong, just sounds cool to Zayn at the time. I'm Zayn Dalton, age 14, lives in Forest Hills in Queens, Zayn says, admitting defeat and sounding like it too, attends Midtown High as a freshman, etc. Captain, with all due respect, interrupts Stefan, stepping in between them. I believe that allowing Zayn to continue will be more beneficial than less costly. What are you talking about? Questions Steve. In less than 2 weeks, Zayn has improved in both skill and physical ability. Praises Stefan. His performance in fighting criminals went beyond my expectations. If you ask me, this boy is a genius in fighting and excels in better quick thinking and judgment. For a second, Steve thought about letting Zayn go. He has the blessing of Doctor Strange, whose job is to defend the universe. While he a bit reckless in stopping the kidnappers, if he is taught on what to do, he'll polish his ability to stop crime. Steve's face lightens as he about to make a decision. Before a flash of Bucky's face, the last sight of Bucky before Steve fell in the water decades ago, reaches his mind, and his face darkens. No, he much too young, decides Steve. Maybe if he is 18, at legal age, I can't stop him. But he is a minor, so until then, it stops. What the hell? Questions Zayn, who looks devastated by what Steve said. I know your heart is in the right place, but still, you're inexperienced and young. Just wait until you're 18, then you can do whatever you want, says Cap, leaving the Sanctum Sanctorum, before turning around to say one more thing. If word reaches to me that you are still continuing this, I'll notify your parents and stop this once and for all. Captain America closes the door, leaving Zayn standing in front of it, looking dejected. He felt alive doing this, he felt like he was doing a lot of good doing this, and he felt like he was given a sense of purpose doing this. And Captain America, a man who always do the right, say it's wrong. He wasn't hurting anybody, so he wonders why it is wrong. Because he is young, but he questions why does that matter. He is different, so use that difference to save others who are being hurt by others. Why should he listen to Captain America if Zayn feels like he is wrong? I'm not going to stop, declares Zayn with willful eyes, looking at Doctor Strange. Mr. Strange, thank you for helping me all this time, but I don't want to trouble you more with this, so I won't be coming here for a while. I can always use my magic to hide you coming here, suggests Stefan as Zayn shakes his head. No, I have to do this myself. Well, eventually, maybe a couple of weeks, S.H.I.E.L.D. will stop once they realize you're living a normal life, guesses Stefan Strange, and there is a couple of things I wish to teach you. Really? Shouts an excited Zayn. Well, I'll come back when it feels like a good time. What are you planning on doing? Asks Stefan as Zayn wears a small smirk. I flew, announces Zayn, as Stefan gave him a confusing look. Well, I flew for a second, but I can do more. And I can sense things too, like back when that guy attacked my school. What do you mean you flew? Questions Stefan, who is visibly interested. Well, I jumped to the air, felt the air around me, and flew, explains Zayn, which Strange looks at him with a puzzling face. In Zayn response, just take my word for it. Running out the door, Zayn turns to Doctor Strange and declares to him, just wait. I'll become a more incredible hero and things will never be the same again. 2 months later, Zayn's house. It is 7:30 a.m. in the morning. The alarm clock in Zayn's room went off, then turned off in an instant as Zayn gets dressed in almost an instant. He had his clothes laid out before, so he cheated a bit. Damn, training yesterday was brutal. Trying 3 times Earth's gravity is no joke, thought a still exhausted Zayn. Zayn then does his morning routine, brush his teeth, took a shower, and eat a huge breakfast like always. Zayn grabs his backpack, put on his white weighted jacket and leaves the house. Arriving outside, he checks to see if anybody watching. He then jumps to the roof of the house in a single leap and scans the area using his Kai sense to detect anybody. Okay, nobody is watching and there are barely any people on the way to my school, thought Zayn, who's smiling confidently. Zayn then took a big leap towards direction of his school, and flew there at about 360 miles per hour more or less. As he flying overhead, he detects Jack, Alex, then Jessica in that order. He saw an open window behind the school in the 3rd floor as he lands on the roof of the school with no one noticing him. He checks to see if anybody near the window and athletically falls down the roof, grabs the ledge of the window and climbs inside an empty classroom. He checks outside the class with his Kai sense to see if anybody is nearby. And with luck, everybody seems to be too busy doing their own thing to notice him. He then sneaks out the room and heads towards his locker. As he heads towards his locker, his head is full of things that happened in the last 2 months. After that incident with Captain America, Zayn been training seeing if he can truly surpass Cap's thoughts about young heroes like Zayn. These last few weeks, he's been going under intense training than ever before. 2 times Earth's gravity benefited him a lot. Before, he have to use Kai pick up at least 2 tons. Now, he can do that with little effort without Kai, and who know how much more he can do with Kai. Zayn then thought of the several times he took injuries from both exhaustion and too much strain on his body. He would have gained a broken body if Doctor Strange or Wong weren't there. He also remembers what Strange had said. Flashback. Zayn is lying on the ground panting hard, as he felt as if his life is draining away. A while ago, Zayn pushed himself too hard in his training and is close to a broken body. Doctor Strange luckily got him out of the room and used some spells to accelerate his healing as Zayn has Kai to help with his recovery. 2 hours later, Zayn completely recover, but Doctor Strange notices something. I was curious with something, announces Doctor Strange. What is it, Mr. Strange? Wonders Zayn as he gets up from his injuries. Your power for some reason increase every time you heal from injuries that would destroy your body, answers Strange, who's fascinated by this revelation. Wait, really? Is that a normal thing? Asks Zayn, even though he knew that answer is no, not really. I was watching your progress and for the last several times you work yourself to all sorts of injuries, which follows with me healing you, your power increase every time. Explains Doctor Strange, I've been suspicious for the last times those happen, but I'm more certain that you recover from injuries. It makes you more powerful than you were before. Present, Zayn has been wondering what is he ever since. He knew since learning about his power that he wasn't normal. But now he been wondering is he's even human. This is probably the most he thought about since Doctor Strange told him about his near-death power increase. As Zayn thought about it, he senses a friend coming from behind him. What up? Said Alex as she tries to scare Zayn by tapping his hands on his shoulders. Hey, greet Zayn, unfazed by Alex's attempt to scare him. You weren't scared? Questions a disappointed Alex. Nope, nonchalantly answers Zayn. Alex has disappointed face on her and says, "Aw, you're no fun. Not when you try to scare me, so where is Jack?" Wonders Zayn. He called this morning. He says he's out sick today. answers Alex. That sucks. I mean it nice to get out of school, but getting sick must really sucks. Says Zayn, does it mean that if he gets sick, he can't train or learn something new? What do you know? I never seen you get sick once. Notices Alex. Zayn chuckles. That true. Later, biology class. Alright class, says Mr. Parker, walking into the classroom as everybody stops talking, focus on their teacher. But then they notice something. Mr. Parker, where did you get that black eye? Notices one student, raising her hand. Well, Jenny, I'm actually Iron Man and just fought the Juggernaut a minute ago, responds Mr. Parker as he chucks a bit as gets his class ready. A couple of minutes passes as Mr. Parker teaches about the human body and how it reacts to several substances from smoke and gas to poison from snakes, raw meat, etc. Suddenly, sirens are heard outside the open windows. Everybody turns to the window to see in the street a man flying and glowing, being chased by the police. Will-O-Wisp, stop or we will be forced to fire, orders a policeman as the chase speeds off. Peter Parker knew what to do, but thought, how is he gonna leave in the middle of class? Zayn thought this is a chance to start superheroing again and show off a new outfit he created. It is blue gi and pants with an orange undershirt along with it. It comes with a blue belt and white boots. It is buried under his books in his backpack, which is hanged in his locker. Okay class, I have to leave because of Mr. Parker. I have to go to the bath. Zayn and Peter stops, with Zayn's hands in the air as they both stop and look at the other. They waited for the other to finish what they were saying. But no, not one spoke. The situation got a little awkward till Mr. Parker broke the ice. I have to get to the doctor. I'm not feeling well, you know, black eye. Mr. Parker untruthfully explains a little awkwardly as he grabs his bag. Zayn, you can go. Class, I'll get a substitute. As both Peter Parker and Zayn leave the room, they went their separate way, going to the opposite directions of the hallway. As soon as they saw no one looking and were out of each other's sights, Zayn quickly went to his locker as Parker heads towards the faculty bathroom. Zayn rushes to the boys' bathroom after getting his backpack and began changing. Parker, now Spider-Man, heads out the window in the faculty bathroom, towards the direction of the chase. Zayn quickly changes to his gi and turns his jacket into a cloak. He covers his hair with the hood and covers his face with a grayer version of his mask that covers from his eyes to the top of his nose. Zayn then escapes through the windows of the boys' bathroom and uses his Kai sense to find the chase. Meanwhile, Will-O-Wisp is leading the police on a high-speed chase around Queens. Just as it seems he is about to stop, a hulking man, Mr. Hyde, came out of nowhere and smashes the police car. The car is sent crashing into a tree as civilians start fleeing from the pair. Thanks for help, thanked Will-O-Wisp as he lands next to Mr. Hyde. Just help me find some subjects to work on, says Mr. Hyde as he scans the area, which still have some people. I hired you for that reason, so get to it. Don't you have worry about that, calls out a voice coming closer. He might get some deductions out of his next paycheck. It was Spider-Man, who came kicking Will-O-Wisp off the ground, before Will-O-Wisp even had a chance to become intangible. Will-O-Wisp gets back up and heads towards Spider-Man with a more dense body, but Spidey dodges a punch at a very fast speed. The Spider, he would be a good subject. Will-O-Wisp take him down, orders Mr. Hyde as he injects himself with his Hyde formula, which increases his muscles, making him stronger, but a bit more unstable. As Mr. Hyde is about to join the fight, he is suddenly kicked in the face, causes him to fall back. Spider-Man and Will-O-Wisp stop their fight and stares at the newcomer. As Mr. Hyde gets back and rubs his face at the bruise it left, as he stares intensely at the newcomer. Who the hell are you? Yells Will-O-Wisp. Zayn then smiles in response to Will-O-Wisp's question. Call me Dragon, the fearless dragon. Dragon? Just what the hell kind of name is that? Yells angrily Will-O-Wisp as he rushes towards Zayn or Dragon. Zayn dodges Will-O-Wisp's highly dense fist and tries to kick him, but couldn't because of his intangibility. Will-O-Wisp goes to grab Zayn, but became tangible to do that, as Zayn grabs his arms and throws Will-O-Wisp towards Mr. Hyde. Mr. Hyde easily catches Will-O-Wisp without falling. Jackson, you better help me take care of this boy, commands an angry Mr. Hyde. Zayn descends to the ground as Spider-Man webs next to him. Hey, Dragon is it? Wonders Spider-Man. Yes it is. Albion, Juggernaut, and Colossus has already been taken, answers Zayn, who naming sense is a bit off. You are about to name yourself Albion, Spider-Man asks, almost snickering. Well, it was a candidate. We're running out of superhero names, so it couldn't be help, says Zayn, a little embarrassed that he was about to name himself Albion. The two then turn their attention towards Mr. Hyde and Will-O-Wisp. You get the Hulk wannabe, I get Mr. Sparklers over there, suggests Spider-Man. That sounds good, agrees Zayn. The four charge at each other as Spider-Man and Will-O-Wisp square off, leaving the other two on their own. Spider-Man tries to capture Will-O-Wisp with his webs as Zayn and Mr. Hyde has a match of strength. Zayn finds himself overpowered, but manages to kick Mr. Hyde in the chin, following that by back-flipping away from him. Zayn then gathers Kai and powers up as he goes for another test of strength with Mr. Hyde, this time as equals for a moment. But a moment is all Zayn needs. He then jumps on Mr. Hyde's shoulders, then drops behind him and kicks Mr. Hyde in the side of his head, stunning him. Zayn then repeatedly punches Mr. Hyde over and over, before finishing it off with a Kai blast to the face, knocking Mr. Hyde out. Meanwhile, Spider-Man fights an aerial battle against Will-O-Wisp, using his webs to keep him above ground. Will-O-Wisp tries to tackle Spider-Man, but Spider-Man dodges each of his attempts. Will-O-Wisp then made a shining light that's so bright that Spider-Man has to close his eyes. Will-O-Wisp tries to take the opportunity to attack Spidey, but is foiled thanks to Spider-Man's spider senses. Zayn, who's watching this battle, closes his eyes because of the light Will-O-Wisp is emitting. He uses his Kai sense to track Will-O-Wisp, who's too distracted by Spider-Man. Zayn thought of a trick he wants to use to help end this. He gathers his Kai to his right hand. He transforms it into a ball, and like that, Zayn has an energy ball on his hands. Tracking Will-O-Wisp, who had just solidified himself so he could have attacked Spider-Man, Zayn launches his energy ball at Will-O-Wisp. The ball hits Will-O-Wisp as Zayn yells, "Strike," knocking down Will-O-Wisp. Mr. Hyde recovers from attack Zayn gave him, but Zayn notices him. He energy blasts the ground below him, causing Mr. Hyde to lose his balance, and Spider-Man dive kicks Mr. Hyde to the ground. Spider-Man quickly webs up both Mr. Hyde and a down Will-O-Wisp into the ground, capturing them. Zayn then looks at his hands for the energy blast he just did. He thought of times he used them in training, but that is the first time he attempts it in a fight and it succeeded. As Spider-Man finishes webbing up the pair, he then took his time to talk to Zayn. "Hey, that was some nice moves you did there." Spider-Man comments, "Thank you, and it's an honor to help you, Spider-Man," says Zayn, feeling nervous from the praise. "But I have to ask, what with the outfit? Wonder Spider-Man at the entire Zayn is wearing. Well, I feel more comfortable with the gi, and the cloak is actually weighted to limit myself until I actually need to go all out," answers Zayn, who realizes he might said some unnecessary things. "Okay, are you like martial artist, right?" asks Spider-Man. "Something like that," says Zayn, wanting to finish this conversation, as he feels paranoid that Spidey might start saying the same things as Captain America. Sirens comes closer to both Zayn and Spider-Man, as the pair quickly say their goodbyes, and left to go back to Midtown High, but through different routes from each other. Zayn is the first to arrive, as he quickly takes off his outfit and places it in his backpack in the bathroom. Spider-Man arrives later and went to the faculty bathroom and remove his outfit. As he finishes changing, Zayn had just left his outfit in his locker. The pair then head straight to outside the classroom where they both meet up. Zayn, "Mr. Parker." The two have another awkward moment as the bell just rang and the students came out of the classroom. The two watches, then turn to each other. "So I'll see you tomorrow," Zayn says, leaving to his next class. "See you tomorrow, Zayn," says Mr. Parker as he goes back to his classroom. Later, after school has just ended, Zayn, with the ability to fly, flew to Jack's house. He gave himself a day off from training to recover from fatigue. Before arriving to Jack's house, flew into an alley of a nearby block, then proceed to walk to his house. It's pretty big house and along with a big yard. He knocks then answering, is Jack's mom, Samantha Aaron. "Oh hello Zayn. It been too long since you last visit here," greets Mrs. Aaron as she lets Zayn inside the house. "Sorry I don't come here often, Mrs. Aaron," apologizes Zayn. "Things has came up, so I've been busy." "That's okay," says Mrs. Aaron. Jack's up in his room. Jack's and Jessica's house is one of the biggest in Forest Hills. When Zayn met Jack they were 8 years old and they were next door neighbors until Jack's dad's promotion in Stark Enterprises. Since then, the money for the Aaron family rolled in and decided to move to a bigger house. In the Aaron family, Jack and his father, Richard, look almost identical, but Jessica inherent Richard Aaron's intelligence. Zayn went up to Jack's room to see that Jack's in bed playing his Xbox. "Hey," greets Jack as he coughs a bit, showing the aftermath of his sickness. "What's up?" said Zayn as enters Jack's room. They played video games as they talk about random stuff that happening in the world. While Zayn is good at games that requires reflex, he's bad at everything else. Jack says that he rushes in without thinking of a plan, so it's to be expected. Meanwhile, Richard Aaron had just arrived to his house after working late from his job in Stark Enterprises. In his possession is data on the latest project being worked on by his department. He knew that it's as important enough that he should take it home before in case someone breaks in. But he didn't know it is so important that someone send a mercenary to steal it. A man is watching from afar, unnoticed by anybody. His name is Boris Bulski. He watches the house since yesterday and now is expecting to find the data in the house. He wants to sneak in and take it, but couldn't because of the number of people in the house. As he watches a high school girl come in just recently, he got a call from his employer. "You have the data?" asks the employer, using a voice changer to deepen his voice. "I need more time. Tonight I shall retrieve it and deliver it for you tomorrow," informs Boris, who actually doesn't want to be in a hurry now. "You shall grab it today and deliver it by tonight, understand?" orders the employer in a threatening tone as he hangs up. Boris, now annoyed at the sudden change of his time limit, went into his van where awaits him is his armor. "It seems that I have not much time, since I can't do anything as Boris Bulski." Boris says to himself as he puts on his armor, the titanium man armor, "I may as well grab the data by force." At the same time, Jessica Aaron had just arrived to her house after being held up by a student council meeting. She went to her room, but was ordered by her mom to check up on Jack after she finished her dinner. She opens Jack's door to see that Zayn is there as watching TV with Jack. "Hey, I'm just checking up on you," Jessica says to Jack. "I'm getting better," Jack assures. Jessica then looks at Zayn and asks, "It's been so long since you last came here. Just what have you been up to?" Some stuff," answers Zayn hesitantly. "What kind of stuff?" Jessica pressures. "You know, like, personal stuff," Zayn nervously says. "How personal does have to be? We knew each other since we were elementary school. There isn't anything we don't know about you," Jessica says, sounding upset. "Oh, I think there are 1 or 2 things you don't know about me," thought Zayn. "Besides, we didn't actually get along at first. And it's your fault." "Don't try to lie, Zayn. I think we both know what really happening," Jack announces, frowning. "You do?" questions Zayn, who's more nervous than usual. "We do," asks Jessica, wondering what does Jack and her know. Jack turns to Zayn and grabs the collar of his jacket and says, "You have a girlfriend, you womanizing bastard." "Girlfriend?" Jessica said, a little shocked from Jack's outburst. "Womanizing?" Zayn wonders, but lets out a breath as Jack didn't say anything about his powers. "There's Alex, possibly my sister, Angie from in 5th grade, and now this woman you were seeing," says a pissed off Jack, who never been out with someone. "Jack, what are you saying?" says Jessica, who's blushing a little. "Yeah, Jack, what are you talking about?" asks Zayn, who understood what Jack just said. "Then what are you hiding?" asks Jack, still thinking that Zayn has a girlfriend. "Well, it's," Zayn tries to say, but was uninterrupted by a loud noise. The loud noise was a large crash coming from outside the room. The three get out of the room and saw the front door and most of the living room destroyed. Standing in the middle is a large metal robot-like man. Mrs. Aaron rushes out of the garage to see the titanium man in front of her. "Where is your husband?" demands the titanium man. What?" Mrs. Aaron said, stuttering. "He had something my client wants, a special USB drive." "Now where is he?" commands the titanium man, with more aggressiveness as he is about to grab Mrs. Aaron. "Mom," shouts both Jessica and Jack as they try to downstairs. "Wait," shouts Mr. Aaron as he came out of the basement with a USB drive. "Is that it?" questions the titanium man. "Yes, it is. Now leave my wife alone," pleads Mr. Aaron. The titanium man drops Mrs. Aaron, who couldn't move from the ground. But suddenly, titanium man quickly grabs Mr. Aaron, along with the USB drive. "You're coming with me," announces titanium man as he grabs Mr. Aaron and flies away. "Richard!" screams Mrs. Aaron. "Dad!" screams both Jessica and Jack as Jack speeds off towards them. Jack ran as fast as he could after them as Zayn found himself following him. Jack starts panting as Zayn knew he couldn't reach them. "Jack, what are you doing?" yells Zayn to his friend as his friend turns his head to him. "Getting my dad, what else?" screams Jack. "How?" questions Zayn as Jack hesitant on that. I don't know," says Jack with a disappointed look on his face as he stops. Zayn sees the look on his friend's face. He checked to see if anyone around and looks to see if anybody is watching. He then grabs Jack's shoulder as the two stops. "Do you know what I've been doing these last few months?" asks Zayn with a determined look on his face. "What does that have to do with anything?" questions Jack. Zayn then throws his jacket up in the air. He quickly takes off his shirt and pants to show a blue gi with an orange shirt. Grabs a mask from inside his gi and turns his jack into a cloak. To Jack, he saw his oldest friend instantly turned into a superhero. "It comes with white boots, but I left those in my backpack," says Zayn as he rushes towards the titanium man with amazing speed with Jack watches with his eyes widen. The titanium had just placed Mr. Aaron in his van. as he begins to lift the car to take them anywhere but here. Zayn then dropkicked Titanium Man, knocking him off balance. Thankfully for Zayn, the van landed safely on the ground. Titanium Man gets up and looks at Zayn with annoyance. "And who are you?" commands the Titanium Man. "The fearless dragon. I'm not that known, but you're about to have a close look on what I can do," says a cocky Zayn. "You're simply cannon fodder," says Titanium Man as unleash a beam suddenly, which Zayn barely dodging it. Zayn counters by using a Kai blast towards Titanium Man, but he's protected by his armor. Titanium Man then unleash a rapid fire of beams from his chest towards Zayn as Zayn dodges them. It turns out to be a trap, as the Titanium Man lures Zayn into place with a tractor beam, ensnaring Zayn. "What the?" yells Zayn as he struggles getting out of the tractor beam. Titanium Man then unleash a powerful beam from his chest at Zayn. Zayn gets, causing major damage on his body. Zayn falls into the ground as he struggles to get up. "You're pretty durable, but now it's time for you to stop interfering," announces Titanium Man as he charges his chest beam at Zayn. Zayn kip up back to the ground and grabs Titanium Man's hands, putting him in a hammerlock hold. Zayn finds himself losing his grip as Titanium overpowers him and grabs his hands. I won't lose to you," screams Zayn as he thought of what would happen if he loses. Zayn's power increases as he becomes a match for the Titanium Man armor's strength. They struggle to overpower the other, but Zayn had an idea. He gets himself out of the struggles and ducks underneath the Titanium Man. He then delivers a strong kick to legs, disturbing Titanium Man's balance, before delivering a double punch in the lower torso of the armor. It sends Titanium Man flying into the air as he recovers in the air. Zayn then removed the cape of the cloak, leaving only the hood as the cape made a loud crash upon landing on the ground. As Zayn flies straight into the air, the Titanium Man quickly unleashes various beams from his palms and chest, but Zayn dodges them more efficiently. Just as Titanium Man tries to use the tractor beam, this time Zayn starts flying all over the place, ruining Titanium Man's timing. He's faster than before, thought the Titanium Man as his targeting system couldn't keep up with his sudden bursts of speed. Zayn charges Kai into his hands as Titanium charges his chest plate. They both sent their beams toward each other, creating a beam struggle between the two. The struggle became even, as Titanium Man noticed. "This going nowhere," thought the Titanium, as he can see that if Zayn wanted more energy to his attack, he could have by now. "This may cause my armor to lose most of its energy, but I might not have a choice." The Titanium Man beam grew larger as it overpowers Zayn's Kai wave. Zayn finds himself struggling against this attack as he tries to find a way to prevent it from hitting him. Realizing he might have to take it, Zayn gathers Kai into his front side as he takes the blast head on. The blast disperses as Zayn is seen with his mask have broken, but his hood is still intact. Half of his gi is gone and have some burn marks. Zayn just stood there panting as the Titanium Man checks his energy supply. The armor need to gather more energy before doing that attack again, thought the Titanium Man, thinking of going for a mild aggressive attack from now on. Meanwhile, Zayn thought of something he learns during a movie during his science class. The movie was about metal and how it is cut. Some use water by concentrating it into a single point to create a powerful cutter. After watching that, he still has no clue how to that with his Kai, but he can at least concentrate his Kai into a single point. Zayn then placed both of his hands in front of each other, a few inches away from the other. He gathers his Kai and made a small ball in the middle of his hands. "Okay, I got this. So what stance should I use to launch it?" Zayn thought, thinking on how to launch it. Zayn uses his instincts to tell him what stance he should launch this from. He places his hand beside his right hips and gathers more Kai into the ball. He aims at Titanium Man as the former finishes recharging his energy. They both then launch their beam, but this time, Zayn manages to overpower Titanium Man's chest beam. As Zayn's attacks head straight towards the Titanium Man, Zayn lowers the Kai of the attack it beats, but not kill Titanium Man. The beam hits and Titanium Man falls into the ground. The police had just arrived to see that the Titanium Man had just been defeated, with his armor deactivated from the damage. Zayn then descends into the ground and opens doors of the van, releasing Mr. Aaron. Thank you, thanked Mr. Aaron. "No problem," assures Zayn as he takes off while the police arrive to help Richard Aaron. Zayn found Jack along with his clothes, which hold on to. Jack gave Zayn his clothes in a quick manner as Zayn puts them back on, before anybody could see. Jack watched the fight from afar and is shocked on what he just saw. "Zayn, Jack," screams Jessica as she and her mother rushes towards them. "We saw everything. Some cool hero just kick that guy's butt and save your dad," says Zayn, smiling at the fact that saved the day again. Really? Then Richard alright? Asked Mrs. Aaron with tears in her eyes. Yep, he over there, says Zayn, pointing towards where the cops are. Jessica and her mom ran towards the cops. Zayn places his hand on Jack's shoulder, who is standing still from the shock. Go with your family, they need you now. I'll be here ready to ask any questions you have, assures Zayn smiling. Jack snaps back into reality and runs towards his family as Zayn watches from afar. Later, while the rest of the Aaron family is in the front yard talking to the cops, Zayn and Jack are in the backyard, as Zayn explains everything that happened after the Scorpion incident. From meeting Iron Fist to being trained by him, from the fall formal to his meeting with Captain America and his recent team-up with Spider-Man. Jack hears every word that Zayn said, about everything that transpired since the day Zayn's life changed. So you're saying that you are anything but human. Maybe it's because of the things you just did and the way you eat, it kind of makes sense, admits Jack, who still hasn't taken everything Zayn said in. That kind of true, agrees Zayn. So, why didn't you tell me or Alex? Asks Jack, feeling a lack of trust. Well, I didn't want you guys to worry or look at me like a freak, so. What are you talking about? Says an excited Jack, as he interrupts Zayn. My best friend is a superhero. That gotta be the coolest thing to happen to an ordinary guy like me, expect maybe getting my own powers. Yeah, it really cool, admits Zayn as he smiles. Although I do have one thing to complain about, explains Jack as he put his arm around Zayn's shoulders. What is it? Wonders Zayn. Jack grabs Zayn by the collar of his jacket and yells, why is it you and not me? Huh? Zayn said with a confused face. You have the girls I previously said and have powers as well. When is it my time to shine? Screams Jack as he yelling more at God than Zayn. Crap, Jack. You are going to alert somebody, Zayn whispers, trying to calm Jack down. However, hiding in the side of the house after trying to retrieve Jack from the backyard, Jessica had just heard everything Zayn said. Everything. What did I just heard? Thought Jessica with a startled look on her face. The next day, some of the students in Midtown High School are talking about how the Aaron's household was destroyed by a supervillain named Titanium Man. Newspaper covers it as a Stark Enterprises employee being kidnapped for holding data about a project with the government. They also covered of how he was foiled by a new vigilante, who earlier in the day teamed up with Spider-Man to defeat Will-O-Wisp and Mr. Hyde. The aftermath of the incidents resulted in the Fearless Dragon being seen as an impressive upstart as a result of defeating Titanium Man, a villain that gave Iron Man some trouble in the past. This is amazing. And I'm getting better, thought Zayn in a singing tone as he reads the news on his phone. Before biology, Zayn's private life got a lot easier too. Now that his best friend, Jack, knows his secret, it became more relaxing around him. Little did Zayn know, Jessica also knows. During lunch, Alex was trying to talk to Zayn and Jack about the incident in Jack's house as Alex wants all the details. So, did your dad know that this data would put his life and your family's life in danger? Asks Alex, curious on how it came to Jack and his family being endangered. Well, apparently, the company didn't want just anybody have hide it and my dad volunteered to help work on it, explains Jack, but they thought nothing was going to happen. My mom is so pissed at my dad now. So was that other guy's name really the Fearless Dragon? Asks Alex. It really is. Kind of weird name if you ask me, says Jack as he glances at an annoyed Zayn. Well, I have to finish this paper for my history class, says Alex as she stands up to go to the library. Jack, seeing as you have better grade in history and Zayn still eating, can you help me? Alright, responds Jack as he leaves with her. Zayn sits alone in the table, eating huge plates of food. Seeing as most of the cafeteria had already been used to it, they ignore him and do their own thing. Watching from behind is Jessica staring at Zayn. She approaches him as he is distracted by his food. Suddenly, Zayn felt someone touching his arm, which turns out to be Jessica. What are you doing? Questions Zayn, as startled as Jessica stops touching him. Just a theory I was interested in. Don't ask, it kind of weird, says Jessica with a nervous smile as she quickly sits next to Zayn. So anything new happening to you? Zayn pauses, thinking of an answer to say to her. Not much. Really? Jessica said, as she pressures Zayn by getting closer. Nothing unusual. Like a girlfriend, job, or some sort of club to been doing for the last couple of weeks. I mean, we didn't finish our conversation from yesterday. No, not much. I just got lazy and decided to do nothing. I swear. Zayn tries to cover up his other life. Jessica then gets closer, making Zayn more nervous as she asks another question. So you got lazy. Then why did you attended the formal if you were too lazy, and where were you after Bobby attacked the formal? Crap, does she suspect? The hell do I do? Zayn thought, as Jessica's face is barely touching his. Damn, she looks good. Why do I focus on girls when they are this close to me? I knew this guy since he was a kid. If what he said was true, then that explains the car accident. Just keep pressuring on and he'll say more than what he told Jack, thought Jessica as she grabs by his hand. Suddenly the bell rings which startles Jessica, who was focused on Zayn. Jessica quickly gets off as Zayn takes the opportunity to get out of this situation. At the bell, "I better get to class," announces an unconformable Zayn as he bolts to the crowded doorway. "Wait," said Jessica as she ran towards Zayn. As soon as Zayn had enough room, he bolted out of the crowd to his next class as Jessica found herself still in the crowd. "He has more muscle there than I thought. I can't believe it. Zayn is a superhero," thought Jessica with shock. Later, Zayn is on his way to Doctor Strange's house to train his body some more. He decided to take the bus instead of flying, since Jessica is suspicious, making him to try to become less obvious. On his way to the Sanctum Sanctorum, he's talking to Jack on his cell phone. "So you don't want anybody you know to know that you are a superhero?" "Why not?" asks Jack. "Because I won't know how will they react. I have a good guess on what my mom would do once she lets it sink in and it's not good. Alex can be a little overprotective and I don't want her to worry. And since your sister might know, it's hard to guess what she might do since she discovered it on her own. But I'm guessing she'll to tell my mom," guesses Zayn. Okay, I get it. But you suck at keeping your identity. Already, a day in and 2 people know who you are," explains Jack as he snickers a bit. "Hey, I'm just getting used to this. Anyway, I don't want to have others know who I am without me telling them myself," says Zayn, who's really afraid of confronting them. "So, what your plan?" asks Jack. "Well, first, I want to see if I can trick them somehow. Seeing as Kai is the power in oneself, I wonder if I manipulate it to fool Jessica," wonders Zayn. "I really don't understand what you mean, but good luck. Just don't harm my sister, okay?" Jack tells Zayn, even though Jack feels uncomfortable about hiding this and might have to help Zayn manipulate. "I promise I won't," assures Zayn. "I don't want to hurt anybody." A week later, it's winter break now and school is out for about 2 weeks, which means that Zayn now has more time to train. His schedule for the break is wake up at 5 a.m., train until 3 p.m., be a superhero until 9 p.m. and get home before his mom find out. He's been improving on his Kai manipulation, making his Kai attacks more efficiently and can create a Kai barrier around him. One of the reasons he's been getting stronger is because he works himself to death most of the time. Doctor Strange helps prevent any serious consequences, but asks Zayn to take it easy. It's 5 days until Christmas, with Zayn and his mom exiting the mall after some last-minute Christmas shopping. Zayn is carrying a bunch of bags in his arms, but at the same time, is completely bored after spending 3 hours in the stores. As they finally end their shopping trip and starts packing up their stuff into their car, he was spotted by Jack and Alex. "Hey, Zayn," yells Jack waving towards Zayn as Zayn finishes packing the bags into the car. "Hey, what going on?" asks Zayn as they come towards him. "We are going to Bryant Park to ice skate," answers Alex. "Wanna come?" "Can I?" Zayn asks his mother. "I don't see why not. Just make sure you get home by 6, okay?" orders Ms. Dalton. "Got it," agreed Zayn as grabs a bag out of the car and leaves with his friends. Bryant Park. Zayn and company arrives to Bryant Park, where there was a bunch of families in the park, as well as some students from various schools. Admission is free, but the cost of skates almost costs $15 to rent. Since the trio had enough, they don't mind much. "Zayn, I have got to ask, do you know how to ice skate?" asks Alex. "Well, I didn't have a chance during my dark times," says Zayn, about the time his mother made him take dance classes, "but how hard can it be? I cannot wait to see you fall on your ass over and over," snickers Alex. As the trio heads to get some ice skates, 2 blonde children, one older boy and probably his younger sister, ran past them laughing as they were holding their own ice skates. They escape into the crowd as suddenly, a very large man who is covered in clothing from top to bottom came out of nowhere. The trio is surprised to see a man that huge before and stare in amazement. "Valerie, Franklin, get back here," yells the large giant man as he turns his head searching for something. The man then turns to the trio and asks, "Excuse me, have any of you seen 2 blonde kids around here?" Over there," responds Alex, pointing at the direct she last seen them. "Thanks," thanked the man as he rushes towards the direction. It took the trio a couple of seconds before they get back into reality and went to get their ice skates. Meanwhile, "Got ya," yells the large man as he grabs the 2 kids running to the ice ring. "Uncle Ben," says the young blonde boy as the man lets them go. "Franklin, just what do you and Valeria think you're doing?" asks Ben Grimm. "The thing. We want to ice skate, Uncle Ben," Franklin Richards innocently said. Then at least let me keep an eye on the both of ya. I promise your mommy and daddy that I take care of you till they get back, explains Ben, not letting his guard with these two. Yes, but first, you better sit down and put on your skates on. The both of you, orders Ben as he helps the kids out on the ice skates. Let your Uncle Benji help you put them on. Rikers Prison. Inside Rikers Prison, a maximum prison holding convicts from everywhere in the Manhattan area, as well supervillains that were fought and defeated by heroes or S.H.I.E.L.D. Samuel Stern's Aka, the leader, is sitting quietly in his cell, observing his surroundings since the day he got in. He watches the guard doing their hourly patrol around the cell blocks. He focuses his attention on that single guard as that single guard notices the leader, staring at him as the guard turns towards him. What? You got a problem? Aggressively questions the guard. The leader simply watches him as it made the guard a little more hot-headed. Well, yells the guard. The guard's eyes widen as he collapses to the ground. He wakes up, looking mindless, as he unlocks the cell of the leader. The leader smiles as his plans to escape his cell had succeeded. How did you do that? Questions one of the inmates, putting his hands on the window of his cell. Always have a plan to escape prison before you do anything that might get you in, informs the leader as he walks out his cell. Let us out then, screams another prisoner. I would, but I have a far better partner to release, the leader said to the inmates with a smile. The leader makes his way into another cell block. Before he ran into some trouble as the guards were aware of him and blocks his path. Using his telepathy, he took control of the weaker-minded guards to turn against their own. As his distractions stall the rest of the guards, he made it into his certain cell. He opens it to see a big green creature that looked like it came out of a monster movie. Emil Blonsky, or should I say, the Abomination, says the leader as the Abomination looks down on him. Stern, what do you want from me? Expect letting me escape? Aggressively questions the Abomination. We both want freedom, am I correct? So we team up until we get outside, proposes the leader. Why me? Why not release everybody else? Asks a suspicious Abomination. I only require your service. I can't have the others get in the way, explains the leader. HMPH, okay, agrees the Abomination as the leader control the guards to release the Abomination. Emil, if you may, the leader says to the Abomination to lead the way. The Abomination bursts out of the cell block and starts to attack several guards left and right as the leader uses the distraction to find an escape vehicle. Bryant Park. Zayn, using his experience on balance from his martial artist training from Iron Fist, quickly masters ice skating. He had a bit of trouble at first, but a couple of minutes later, he starts to skate around the rink. Alex is shocked on how fast Zayn quickly know how to ice skate. She's also a little embarrassed that before, she was making fun of him, believing that he might spend most of the time trying not to fall. Meanwhile, Ben Grimm, or the Thing, is keeping an eye on Franklin and Valerie Richards. Franklin is skating little circle in front of Ben as Valerie is holding onto the ledge to keep her up. So far, it is a peaceful day in New York as everybody is just having fun, just ice skating. Suddenly, Zayn senses something is happening from afar. He couldn't tell what's happening, but he knew that something is happening as he senses a high power. Hey, something going on, says Zayn as he skates towards Jack. What is going on? Asks Jack, as he was a bit startled by Zayn's sudden appearance. Something, vaguely says Zayn. What something? Wonders Jack, as Zayn isn't making it clear. Something, repeats Zayn. Something, questions Jack, wanting Zayn to be clear. Yeah, something going on, said Zayn. At this point, Jack's head is going in circles. Can't you just explain it to me? Yells Jack. I mean, I'm sensing something. Zayn finally explains, as Jack figures out what that means. I have to check what it is. Hey, what are you guys doing? Wonders Alex as she comes towards them. I got a call from my mom. She wants me to come to the house now. Why is Zayn as Jack backs him up by nodding. Right now, why? Asks Alex. Well, Zayn tries to say something before Jack completes his sentence. He has to help unclog the toilet he clogged, says Jack, as Zayn immediately looks at him, looking embarrasses. What? Shouts Alex, a little disgusted. Yeah, I have to do that, agrees Zayn, angry at Jack, but needs to leave, so I have to leave. Zayn immediately leaves the rink and took off his ice skates. As he gets his shoes back, he runs towards the exit. He accidentally bumps into a blonde-haired woman as they both fall into the ground. Sorry, I was in a hurry, apologizes Zayn as he helps the woman up. That's okay, accidents happen, assures the blonde woman, just be more careful. Zayn nods and rushes out the park. The woman then heads straight towards Ben Grimm. She turns invisible and grabs the Thing from behind. Holy, yells the Thing as he turns to see nobody behind him. He turns back and sees the blonde woman in front of him. Geez, Susie, you almost gave me a heart attack, the Thing says to Susan Storm Richards, aka the Invisible Woman. Sorry Ben, just had to that. jokes Susan as he rubs her hand on top of the rocky head of the thing. "Mommy," screams VERYYYY as she heads towards her mother. Susan then grabs her daughter to her arms. "Are you two having fun?" Susan asks her two children. "Yes, Mom," assures Franklin. "I thought you and Stretcho were having dinner with the mayor," asks Grim as Susan grabs her own ice skates. "We had to cut our visit short. It seems that one of Reed's project has detected some sort of cosmic abnormal event," answers Susan. "What does that mean?" questions Grim. "It means something happened that not supposed to happen. It seems that during our last visit in space, Reed set up the project to detect abnormalities, but he found one that happened at least 15 or 16 years ago," informs Susan. "That long ago? So why is it so important?" asks Grim. "Well, it started at one point, then it spits into 3 trails and one of the trail headed straight to Earth," announces Susan. Meanwhile, Zayn just changed into his outfit as he flew to the direction of what he was sensing. At the same time, a carrier is escaping out of Riker's prison. After fooling the prison into thinking that he and the Abomination are still in the prison, the leader is using one of the mind-controlled guards to pilot the carrier. As they escape, the leader then turns to the Abomination with a smirk on his face. "I like to thank you for helping me escape, Emil, but your usefulness isn't over," says the leader with a sinister smug look on his face. "What do you mean?" questions the Abomination as prepares for a betrayal. "Seeing as SHIELD might be looking for any sign of the both of us, I might as well tie up loose ends," says the leader as he then holds onto a pole of the carrier. The carrier flies straight above as its back door open. The Abomination holds on the side of the carrier, but gravity took its effect and falls out of the carrier. As the Abomination falls, the leader simply look on. "I'm sorry, Emil, but you serve better as a distraction in the end," says the leader as he escapes. Zayn senses something above and looks to see something falling. He flies towards it and sees that a large green creature falling down to the ground. The Abomination crashes into the ground of a street as Zayn floats above the crater that was made and just in time to see the Abomination getting out of the crater. S.H.I.E.L.D. suddenly arrives and sees the Abomination standing beside the crater. "Abomination, you are under arrest for..." Before the agent could even say anything, the Abomination grabs a car and threw it at the squad. Before it could reach them, however, a Kai blast hit the car in midair, exposing it in midair. Zayn descends in front of the Abomination, glaring at the monster. "And who are you supposed to be?" questions the Abomination as he makes a fist. "Dragon, the fearless dragon," answers Zayn as he rushes towards the Abomination. Abomination responds by swinging his fist towards Zayn, but Zayn dodges it and sidesteps behind the Abomination. Zayn hits fast combos of punches behind the Abomination's back and the back of his head. It had no effect as the Abomination tries to swing his fist behind him, but Zayn dodges that as well and appears in front of the Abomination to sidekick him in the face. It also had little effect, as the Abomination quickly grabs Zayn's legs and swings him into a car. He pulls Zayn out of the destroyed car and threw him into another car. Zayn gets back up, but struggles to stand still. "Damn, he took those attacks like they were nothing," thought Zayn as he holds his left side in that case. Zayn charges Kai into his hands and launches a barrage of Kai blasts at the Abomination, who's bothered by the dust it's creating. Zayn powers up and speeds towards the Abomination, giving him powerful punches to the face. Zayn then finishes it off with a Kai wave attack in the face of the Abomination. The Abomination then starts to walk backwards as the beam pushes him backwards. Just when Zayn thought he had him on the rope, the Abomination unexpectedly charges forwards and punches Zayn in his upper body. That punch sends Zayn flying into a windowed door of a building. Zayn struggles to get up as the Abomination charges towards him. Zayn took off his cape and flies behind the Abomination, keeping his distance. Zayn's face is bloody up and half his mask is gone, not including the bruises on his body. The Abomination throws a car towards Zayn, who dodges it and flies once again behind the Abomination. Zayn lands then backflips away from the Abomination, use his Kai sense to see if anybody is in the street ahead of him. As soon as the street is clear, Zayn then charges his Kai into a ball in both hands. He then places it beside his hip and the same stance he did with the Titanium. "Let's see if you can withstand the same move that helped me beat Titanium Man," screams Zayn as he launches his attack, Spirit Blast. Zayn thrusts his hands at the Abomination and launches a powerful beam. The attack hits the Abomination straight on as Zayn struggles to control the beam from spreading out into the sidewalks. The Abomination struggles to keep still as he almost falls back from the beam. He starts walking towards Zayn, despite the beam pushing him back. Zayn gather more Kai into the attack as the Abomination struggles to continue walking forward. So alright folks, that's all for today. Stay tuned for part 3. Do subscribe, like and share for more such videos. Press the bell icon to be notified first on release. See you in the next video. Till then, goodbye.